You love hilarious banter and you are ready for a piece of televised history.
But before that, it's Friday. It's quite late in the evening, which means you probably had a kebab and between 1 or 6 pints of beer, sir. So you're quite ready for Thumb Bandits.
Yes, welcome to Thumb Bandits. We're the cure for your midwinter blues.
Stay tuned for a look at robotic dogs, weirdo experiments, and we'll be looking at some of your fave games from the home computer era. You love it, you nostalgia sluts.
But first, the waiting is over. The man with the porn star name and the dodgy mullet is back. Yes, Iain is taking a look at Solid Snake's latest adventure.
Who goes there? Shalashaska. What the?
How controversial would it be for me to say that I wasn't that mad on Metal Gear Solid first time around? I can already hear roars of anger from you fervent gamers and frequent masturbators who get upset when I dare question something that you consider to be art. But I got bored and never went back to it. That, to me, isn't a good game. I was expecting Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of Liberty, to be an Emperor's New Clothes styly affair, with everyone calling it a masterpiece, while only I could see that it was hollow, naked, and disappointing.
Snake, there's something I have to tell you.
What?
I have a younger sister.
Imagine my surprise when I played Metal Gear Solid 2, and after 10 minutes I was phoning up my friends telling them, this is a masterpiece. And you would not believe what's happening in the story. There are so many twists and turns in the plot that it freaked me out more than that bird having a cock in the crying game. That's nothing compared to what happens to Snake in this instalment. In fact, the only thing that slows the story down are the ridiculously long and increasingly irritating codec sections. You remember this is the two-way walkie-talkie chitty-chat that goes on forever and looks so dull. Flick through them as quickly as possible to ensure they don't fuck up your enjoyment of the game. Graphically, you couldn't ask for much more. Although completely different from the gothic majesty of something like Ico, this is nonetheless almost perfect. The scenery is stunning and the movement of the characters is incredibly realistic. Just hide in a locker and watch those guards through the grill. They look so menacing and move with a degree of intelligence much more noticeable than in the first game. The controls are easier than before, and that's a blessing. Despite having more crawling, leaning and fisting moves, Snake is dead simple to maneuver, and his shooting is much more accurate this time, thanks to a spot-on first-person firing mode. But be careful. If those sodding guards see your laser sight, then you're in trouble. Because I care for you, despite everything you say, I can't tell you any of the story. It wouldn't be fair, but it is pretty good, and as you know, I'm not really a fan of game plots. I completed it in about 27 minutes. That didn't spoil my enjoyment of the game. Most of the fun comes from hiding round a corner, waiting for a guard, so you can jump out and palm him off. Isn't it good to know that with the release of Ico, Devil May Cry, and this beauty, the PS2 is finally living up to the hype of 2 years ago. Welcome to the news desk, where we bring you snippets of gaming knowledge from around the world. And firstly, it's all going to end in tears as the console war really kicks off. Nintendo claim they're selling 27 GameCubes a minute, while Microsoft say their Xbox is the biggest selling console in its first 2 weeks.
Either way, it looks like this next-gen rivalry has put the wind up Sony. In an interview for the Financial Times, the president of Sony, Kunitake Ando, said that they were suffering a major whitey because the Xbox comes with internet connectivity and hard drive out of the box. That is the biggest threat to the PlayStation 2. The Xbox changes the industry's life cycle, which may mean that the PS2 only has a 3-year shelf life.
By 2004, market experts claim that in North America alone there'll be 34 million PS2s, 20 million Xboxes and 18 million GameCubes. However, not wanting to bank on predictions, Sony have already begun research and development of the PS3.
Hallelujah.
with help from Toshiba, IBM, and about $400 million. The PS3. That's got you excited, hasn't it, eh? I've got the strongest right arm out of the two of us.
Oh, you bastard. Yeah, really, games are great when you can humiliate your opponent and prove that there can be only one winner.
That's right, Alex, but a lot of games come from Japan, where no one must be made to feel like a failure, and even the most rubbish karaoke singer gets a polite round of applause.
Those of you who buy import games may have noticed that there are subtle differences from the UK versions. These differences are due to a process called localization, where games are altered to suit the differing national tastes of gamers across the world.
Video games are a huge industry, and making sure that they make that leap from country to country and also appeal to the broadest audience possible has become a precise science.
At Abertay University in Dundee, Jim Turkhurst and his team attempt to understand differences in gamers from different nationalities, particularly the Japanese.
Icy Cave is all about helping games companies develop better games, and it's a place to think about what the future of gaming might be. We have this fancy setup here that gives us controls to 4 cameras in the observation room.
Jim gets UK gamers to play foreign games and then works out what needs to be changed for the games to work in the UK market.
At its simplest, that involves changing things like language. But typically, it's more complex. Some genres, for instance, you couldn't sell in the other market. They just wouldn't have any interest. Or if the genre would sell, maybe certain aspects of it are not considered appropriate. Typically, these involve issues like violence and nudity.
Games that have been changed by the localization process are the Final Fantasy series, Dead or Alive 2, and Fantavision.
But why go to all this trouble? Well, it's a rhetorical question. Don't answer it. It's bloody obvious. Cash, pounds, dollars, lira, yen, groats. Maybe not groats, actually.
This is gonna be a match to remember. Fight!
Japan is really the home and still the center of the computer games industry. It's more than the fact they manufacture the consoles there, though, and have the great developers. Games are an important part of Japanese life.
However, some of the games they play are very different from some of those favoured in the UK.
They like role-playing games. I think these are popular because Japanese players seem to like to have a reason for why things are happening. You see that even in their fighting games where they don't fight because they want to. If you listen to the audio, it usually says that honor demands. Also, there's a lot of emphasis on skill in Japanese games. That's often why you see all of the statistics at the end of a game or at the end of a level. If you play with your friend at home, it's very difficult to beat them, because that would be sort of impolite, you know, to thrash your friend at a game. You want to play just about at the same level they do.
Well, it takes all sorts, I guess. Vive la difference, I say. I'm gonna kick your ass.
Blood and guts, carnage and body parts. No, not a Saturday night in A&E. It's this week's games for our ghoulish jury to play.
Words of wisdom will come tonight from Paul, Scott, and Jackie.
One must keep his friends close, Raziel, and his enemies even closer.
First up is Soul Reaver 2 for the PlayStation 2. Now, confusingly, this is actually the third in the series that sees the main character, Raziel, kicking vampire ass across the strange and twisted world of Nosgoth.
This is a PlayStation 2 upgrade. The plot sprawls across 20 hours of gameplay, in which Raziel discovers why he's responsible for both the destruction and the salvation of his much-loved homeland. But what do our moaning jurors think?
I thought Soul Reaver 2 was a very good game. I have to admit, I didn't play the first one, but I'm quite tempted to go back and give it a try.
The graphics in this game are fantastic. I was a big fan of the first game. Huge, big, dark environments. In PS2, they're even better. They blew me away.
The Soul Reaver world is beautiful. The graphics are fantastic. And my favourite bit is when you get to warp from the normal world to the gnarled, spectral world.
Next is Vampire Night for the PS2. Forget your garlic, your wooden crucifixes and your stakes, and instead break out your gun-con light gun for this stake 'em up. I meant to say shoot 'em up.
We're here at last.
Yes. How long I've waited for this moment.
This game is from the makers of the House of the Dead series. It seems that you have to kill everyone that doesn't look quite right, but in fact you can save some lucky humans if you're a good shot.
The best thing about Vampire Night is the sheer pick up and play factor. Your mates come round, get the game in, get the gun out, have a blast.
Well, it's not just shooting as fast as you can. There's a bit of a strategy. There are some people that have growths on their heads and you have to shoot these off.
I love the fact this game is just like a Japanese manga cartoon. It's like watching the cartoon and shooting the bad guys. What more fun do you want?
I thought I wouldn't make it. Thank you.
Out now for the PC. Golf.
Developed by Piranha Bytes, it boasts an array of 250 non-player characters that are fully interactive. You progress through the game by fighting monsters and solving riddles. How original.
Where do you think you're going?
With this game you have to play it for months and months and months to get any reward. You can't just pick it up and expect instant gratification. You have to invest a lot of time in this game.
If your idea of fun is wandering about talking to a lot of people, you'll like this game. I personally like Shenmue and Dreamcast, so this is really my kind of thing.
Well, you don't have to have thick black eye makeup and stripy tights to like this game. I think anybody would like it. It's a classic role-playing game.
Ask my friend Drax here. He knows more about these things than anyone.
So there we have it. In third place with a stake through the heart, it's Gothic. In second place with just a clove of garlic to rub around its plums, it's Vampire Night. But this week's winner, getting to turn a beautiful young virgin into a member of the undead, it's Soul Reaver 2.
Onimusha Warlords, the exclusive PlayStation 2 title, has fought its way to the number 5 spot. With some of the best cutscenes and FMVs around, inspired by the films of Akira Kurosawa, Onimusha tells the story of 16th century feudal Japan.
The fourth best-selling PS2 game of last year is Tekken Tag Tournament. For the first time in the Smash series, you can gang up on your foes with a bit of high-five hand-slapping. Now you can settle scores with 3 other friends or team up against the console.
Giving us a flyby at number 3 is Star Wars Starfighter. Essentially a flight sim in space, Starfighter is the first of the LucasArts license to be brought to the PS2.
EA must have been dreaming of a white Christmas with SSX Snowboard Supercross coming in at number 2. Almost as preposterous as the sport it's based on, the locations for SSX vary from an iceberg in the South Pacific, the Aloha Ice Jam, to the indoor snow-covered pinball machine arena, the Tokyo Megaplex.
But in the number 1 position is, of course, Gran Turismo 3, A-Spec. GT3 broke all first-week sales records when it careered onto the shelves earlier this year, and it's easy to see why. Choose from more than 150 authentic world-class automobiles, tackle 18 courses, including 2 new tracks, Monte Carlo and the Tokyo Race Circuit.
Most of the kids in my school had ZX Spectrums. They were like the Ford Escort of home computers, loads of games and dead cheap. But a lot of parents weren't that happy about their kids playing computer games. To them, it was like them glue sniffing or head banging. But one thing that adults generally agreed on was a computer that was educational would be a good thing. Cue the BBC Micro. And this is its story. The BBC had a TV series called The Computer Programme. Very clever, you see. But they needed a machine for it. So the corporation drew up its requirements, then sat back and waited. And finally, along came a small company called Acorn. It made appearances on Tomorrow's World, The Adventure Game, Doctor Who, which had also provided some of the graphics and special effects, and had an entire series based around it, including making the most of Micro Live, and Computers in Control. And if that wasn't enough to convince middle-class parents, the BBC also became the official computers that schools used. The BBC Micro had sprite graphics, which means a lot of the games looked a bit shit even at the time. Let me explain what sprites were. If we imagine that this gorgeous Danish pastry is a character, and on a spectrum this would be just one sprite. If we assume that this cheese grater is also, I don't know, a castle or something, and it's also a sprite graphic on a spectrum, these 2 graphics will be able to pass in front of each other, behind each other, without causing any interference. On a BBC, because each image is made up of tiny, tiny pixels, they can't actually go in front or behind each other, so they have to pass through each other. Sort of a bit like this, really. As you can see, that's a bit messy, isn't it? Still, you could get decent titles like Chucky Egg, Castle Quest, Citadel, and its finest hour, Elite. Having passed your interstellar pilot's exams, you're supplied with the Cobra Mark III trading and combat craft. The aim of the game was to trade your way to a fortune and to kill anyone who gets in your way. Just the thing for 1980s teenagers. This sold over 1 million, but the BBC and Acorn became synonymous with education, and we all know that is not cool for the kids. Model B was replaced by the Master and the Archimedes, but really its days were numbered, because the Nintendo Entertainment System was just around the virtual corner.
Nostalgia, where would we be without it? Everybody's getting in on the act, from films, fashion, television, and computer games. Well, they're the worst culprits. Most of the old ones look crap now, and instead of being brave and coming up with new genius ideas, developers are simply recycling old classics, like Maximo for the PlayStation 2. It's borrowed from Capcom's original arcade hits, Ghouls and Ghosts. You get the gist, you've got to thwack the undead with a variety of weapons across 30 engaging and interactive environments. You are Maximo, a young monarch who returns from war to discover that your kingdom has been appropriated by Achilles, the bad guy, who marries your sweetheart and then murders you. So, contrary to modern gameplay convention, you start out dead and have to end up alive. Your mission is to stop Achilles from raising evil beings from the afterworld to serve as his army of minions. Your evil dead foes are event triggered, which means that you can watch them wait for you to cross an invisible line before they hobble over and try to attack you. They're not the smartest enemies I've ever been up against. But most irritating of all is that it's extremely linear. With all this beauty around, I just want to explore my surroundings. Look behind the nearest gravestone. Peer over the closest cliff. Pop down the adjoining hallway? I wanted to find an alternative route, but I was thwarted by level design, obstacles, and bad camera. Still, it's the little touches that save Maximo. He sports red heart boxer shorts, there are 40 lovely power-ups, and the music is nice. Maximo passes the time. It's not offensive, it doesn't smell bad, and if you get it as a gift, don't throw a temper tantrum and chuck it against the wall. But do trade it in for Jack and Daxter, and try and live in the now. The old days weren't all that great. Maximo is available to buy on the 15th of February. Last year, some 170 games were released for the PlayStation 2. That's a lot of titles. Some of them were good, some of them were absolute cack. But what about next year? What will we see then?
That is amazing. MotoGP for the Xbox focuses on simulation, not coin-op accessibility. Using a game engine developed by Climax's specialist motorsports team, the handling looks to be more sophisticated, and the power of the Xbox certainly adds a bit of fairy dust to the graphics. A particularly nice touch is the motion blur you get when maxing out on the speed. You get to race at 10 of the most popular courses in the world, with access to all the current list of speed freaks in the Grand Prix. Apart from the careers mode, there are a further 5 modes, including an arcade mode and an adrenaline-pumping 4-player split-screen mode.
Perhaps the most bizarre and certainly the most addictive game to come out in the next couple of months is Super Monkey Ball on the next generation Nintendo. Early reports say that this is the GameCube's golden launch title. There are 110 levels, but the real fun starts when you access the 3 new game modes, Monkey Race, Monkey Fight, and Monkey Target. The coolest thing about these gamettes is that they could be realized as self-contained releases in their own right.
Jet Set Radio's unique look has spawned a whole host of copycat games, from Sega's Sonic Shuffle to Nintendo's new Zelda game. And here's a sneaky peek at the latest, it's Cell Damage on the Xbox. Don't be so irritating. Cell Damage is a cartoon-style driving beat-em-up. Your car will swing from vines, deliver a sucker punch with a boxing glove, and bounce off cobwebs. This game looks like it should be a piece of piss, a walk in the park, a party game to have a few laughs with, but it's as difficult as hell.
Oh, hi! Whilst I'm making my way around the track, why don't you make your way to our website at www.channel4.com/Thumb Bandits.
On next week's show, we get the lowdown on the chunkiest console there is, the Xbox.
Between 1 or 6 pints of beer, sir, which means you're quite ready. Fucking hell. Sorry, I was adding too many words.
Find good help these days.
It means that fucking hell. From Sega's Sonic.
And if you get it as a gift, don't throw a temper tantrum and trick it with it.
Dark winter, ladies and gentlemen, and by now you're probably feeling some seasonal depression.
But hey, come on, cheer up. It can't be all that bad. You're watching Thumb Bandits, the antidote for SAD bastards everywhere.
Sounded convincing to me, Alex. Get ready for a fun fest.
This week we're popping our Xbox games cherry. Yep, we're bringing you an in-depth review of Halo. Is it the game that'll sell Microsoft's great black hope? First, it's just over a month before the UK gets their hands on the Xbox. The Americans have been lapping it up since last November, but we're still waiting. Everybody, that is, except for me. Let me give you the vital stats. The Xbox will be launched on the 14th of March, and it will cost about £299. It will have between 10 and 15 games available to buy, with a further 90 or so in development. It's got 4 controller ports, you can link up to 16 players at one time, it has Dolby 5.1 surround sound, and is broadband ready. It weighs a ton, and Microsoft have 1.5 million Xboxes planned for Europe in the first 3 months. And it looks, well, it looks like a radiator.
Oh man, Xbox, let me have a go on it first.
The Xbox most definitely comes from the land of huge cars and huge hairs because everything about it is huge. Iain! This huge box will probably take up half the space in your average Japanese living room. And look at the size of these controllers. They're huge. But don't worry about it, you small-handed people. They'll be releasing smaller ones later on.
Now let me get this straight. From now on, we'll be reviewing Xbox games before they come out, as well as PC and games for the PS2. And in the near future, we'll be reviewing stuff for the GameCube. These are very exciting times in the console world indeed. But what are the games like? Alex, you think you know it all, so tell us about the Xbox games then. Go on.
Xbox understand the concept of killer apps. Hell, they invented the phrase. And the killerest app in a launch title of Xbox Killer Apps is the phenomenal, the all-inspiring, the all-encompassing Halo.
Much of the action takes place on or around a stunning Ringworld-inspired planet. It feels like one of Iain M. Banks' culture novels come to life. You are a cyborg fighting on the side of the humans, defending your existence against the Covenant, an insidious, extremely intelligent, and deadly race of alien beings. And these bastards are as smart as human players, I kid you not. There are 3 different types of bad guys, from the small dog tweenie-like things, through the shield-toting middle management, up to the tall, lithe, terrifying baddies who, when they panic, they run screaming right at your face, and they're not even the worst. All of them duck and dive and roll and hide and catch grenades and chuck them back at you, and group up and scream and run and learn. They are fucking smart. To protect you, you have a regenerative shield, which saves you from twattage until it's gone, at which point you can hide and rejuvenate. The 10 awesome chapters of the game are played across areas littered with rocks, trees, crates, turrets, tanks, and hovercraft, all of which are interactive, and all of which are good places to disappear behind as your depleted energy returns. And what was that I said? Interactive? You can drive, or if you don't want to, you can man the guns on the vehicles instead.
The nature of the game is team-based, whether you're playing with another human being in multiplayer cooperative mode or in single player with your artificially intelligent marine allies. And because there's so darn much shooting going on, you can expect a hell of a lot of friendly fire. It's a crash course in the madness of combat. If you do end up felling most of your comrades, there will be tears, there will be agonized shouts, there will be more weapons for you to collect. But you won't have these very talented dudes around to save your ass when you're next hemmed in by the inevitable bunch of alien bad guys around the corner.
Keep your head down, there's 2 of us in here now, remember?
I had to stop writing this review 3 times in order to pick up and play Halo again, because just writing about it reminded me of how beautiful, how exquisite, how outrageously sublime Halo actually is. Any attempt to be critical falls by the wayside. Halo defies derision. It is glorious happiness in one stunning DVD.
This is the news. First of all, let me state categorically the PS2 fight back has begun. Telewest and BT Open World are leading the way as they test out the latest PS2 online technology. few lucky people in the UK are already trying out their TeleWest broadband network, playing multiplayer games like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3, and BT Open World are not far off their public trials.
Sony's big idea is to establish easy, plug-in-and-play, stable multiplayer gaming for PlayStation 2 owners from around the globe. And they also hope to introduce other benefits that we've never seen before, like downloadable games. It looks like they're picking up from where the Dreamcast left off.
And you'll be able to arrange to meet players at a certain time, or select a player from the list and play in leagues, ladders, and of course have chat about gnarly skateboards, dude.
If all goes well with their online trials, we can expect to see the PlayStation 2 go online by the end of the year.
Now, some good news for deluded military fanaticists everywhere. Former SAS man Andy McNabb has signed a deal with Rage to produce a series of 3D military games primarily for the PS2 and the Xbox. However, the first one won't be out until 2003.
Who knows if the Andy McNabb will actually be making an appearance as the star of the show, or if he'll be lurking in the shadows, but do expect a Metal Gear Solid meets James Bond style of game that will have the boys wetting their pants.
Now, it would be cheap of me to mention the words Lara and Ride in the same sentence, so I'm not going to bother. But at Paramount Parks, they're taking Tomb Raider to the next level of interactive entertainment with a fantastic ride at Paramount's Kings Island in Cincinnati, Ohio, America.
The exact method of transportation has not yet been disclosed, but apparently it will be the first of its kind in the world. You will rocket up into ice caves, plunge into lava, journey into an ancient temple where stone walls give way, and thrill-seeking riders will also encounter a series of tombs and raid them. It's just like being in the game.
Unlike the game, you won't be able to crawl behind Lara in dark tunnels or shoot people in the face if they get on your nerves. But Tomb Raider the Ride opens its doors on April the 6th.
And finally, we are witnessing a terrible day in gaming history. Britain's #1 boy band are launching their first game. Westlife Phanomania is coming to your PCs and your PlayStations.
The animated hostess Tara has done her best to bring you the band's virtual lives, but Shane, Brian, Kian, Mark and Nikki will not top the game charts.
No.
Here are a few things I think you should know about me before I continue this review. Firstly, I do have a girlfriend. Yes, I do talk to real people. And no, I can't stand real ale.
Battle Realms on the PC is the latest in a long line of real-time strategy games, but deserves more than to simply be considered a sub-Command and Conquer clone. Although you'll recognise the formula of building armies and attacking, this does it with a unique style.
But here's the mystery. I genuinely love strat games, especially online. Incredible. I have become everything I hate.
Firstly, it's set in feudal Japan, and already it sounds brilliant. As Kenji, you have to make a choice early on whether to help those crazy peasants or join an evil clan. Then it's a case of slowly taking over the whole island using the super samurai you create in your dojos.
What initially separates this from a lot of rubbish strat games, are the fantastic graphics. Now, all too often they're overlooked in this type of game, but you have to admire the amount of work and attention that's gone into every individual character here. Not saying I particularly care about them, but some of those little fellas are really cute. Oh, bless them.
The controls are much easier to grasp than you'd expect. After a brief tutorial that is almost interesting, you'll have learned all you need to know. The chaps also have a bit of intelligence and won't just stand there like the school spanner getting the crap kicked out of them. They will fight back and defend themselves. And this may disappoint some of you because you don't have that much input into the fighting. They sort of do it all themselves. But get over it. It's just a game.
With a great control panel, it's simple to toggle between any battles and your village, so you can keep an eye on all the lazy sods back home. Also, building is piss easy, as are most of the other necessary yet slightly dull tasks.
From a boring, technical, nerdy, strategic point of view, this game is quite a challenge. There's no point in just quickly building a sizable army and storming through the woods. You will die. Wait. Build your village. Give these people a chance. You owe them that much at least.
Sounds, colours and details make this an enjoyable game, and it should prove a great introduction to the world of pipes and slippers. But Battle Realms won't be for a lot of hardcore strat heads. It's a bit light. If Command & Conquer is Metallica, then this is definitely Hanson. But hey, I love Hanson. I even saw him live at Wembley Arena once. Make of it what you will.
Battle Realms is out now for the PC.
Right, enough of your British Retrofest. I don't care who Sir Clive Sinclair is. I never had a BBC Micro, and what the hell is an Amstrad? But gaming systems, on the other hand. Now you're talking my language. The early 80s was a dark time for home gaming. It was generally assumed that video games consoles were a fad that would die out with Atari. Nintendo tentatively launched the Nintendo Entertainment System across the US and the UK in 1986. Could the NES do things the Atari couldn't? I mean, why should anyone buy a NES? Step forward a little Italian dude named Mario. In 1981, Nintendo Supremo Shigeru Miyamoto created a little arcade ditty called Donkey Kong. The protagonist was a squat carpenter racing to save his girlfriend from the big ape. He was later christened Mario due to his resemblance to Mario Segali, the landlord who looked after Nintendo's American office. It's true. Oh, the bliss, the many hundreds of hours I spent trying to find all the secrets and hidden levels of the amazing, the spectacular, the side-scrolling Super Mario Brothers. There were new medical conditions associated with the new console, from blistered thumbs to severely sore wrists, dubbed Nintendonitis, and the Americans even blamed the NES for a 10% decrease in cardiovascular fitness. But Nintendo and Mario didn't have it all their own way. In a karmically familiar console battle, the NES, which I painfully admit was the worst console, had 3 whole months of being the only child before the new kid on the block, the Sega Master System, arrived. If the Sega machine had been a person, it would have worn thick spectacles and a duffel coat. It was a super smart machine with nearly twice the memory of the flashy NES. But where I grew up, Sega was always Pepsi to Nintendo's Coke. Nintendo had also brokered all the exclusive deals with all the best developers, leaving Sega with in-house dreams and the outcasts who smoked behind the bicycle shed. Despite this, Sega produced quality arcade conversions such as Space Harrier and Outrun, as well as a budget range of games, always popular with the British, retailing at £9.99, which compared to the NES's cheapest games at $29.99 was a steal. The Sega Master System eclipsed sales of the NES when it arrived here in the UK. So, there still remains a cultural gap the size of the Atlantic between myself and you people. Freaks. Sweaty shorts, thick PE teachers, and strong girls showing off? God, I hated team sports and I refused to play them. So, I'm not going to play them now. I'm going to leave that to the jury.
What Alex is trying to say is that it's time for our jury to review their games, which this week are all based around team sports. First up, cricket. 2002. Now, this is supposed to be the definitive cricket game of all time, with detailed stadiums, changeable weather, and night and day options. It's bound to please the cricket buffs, but will it please 3 Scottish console addicts?
A cricket game on the PlayStation, is it your thing?
As soon as the commentary came on, it's, hello, welcome to the cricket. Yeah, no, it's not my thing.
A lot of the other sports games are all very fast and action-paced. Do you think this suffers because it is a really slow game?
Well, I don't know, because golf, golf games are quite slow-paced, but I quite enjoy a wee round of golf.
That's a very good point, actually, yeah.
And snooker, quite enjoy a game of snooker as well. So I think it's just the cricket.
Do you think the controls were just too fiddly and too awkward?
The controls weren't awkward, but there just wasn't enough to do. You can bat, you can bowl, you can field, you can automatic field if you like, but then again that takes away 1/3 of the gameplay, of which there isn't much.
Wow. If the game is anywhere near as boring as Paul's explanation of it, then I for one certainly don't want to play it. Is it something that would appeal to cricket fans?
I would definitely think so, yes. I mean, you get to bat, you get to bowl, to field, all the things that the cricket fans would like.
Your favourite part of the game, what is it?
Switching it off.
Oh, harsh!
Gosh, that must have hurt.
Well, a pretty mixed response from our unconvinced jurors. They're not into a game that takes all day and has breaks for tea. How about a real American sport? NBA Live 2002 is the 8th in the best-selling series, and not surprisingly, it's a huge seller across the pond. You can hang out in the locker rooms, practice over 50 dunks, build your own dynasty in the all-new franchise mode, and even check out over 50 different styles of shoes. But is it a slam dunk or a sweaty armpit in the face? Ugh. All right, Scott, apparently the gameplay in this game is so good that you can actually feel yourself sweating at home. How did you feel when you were playing it?
Well, I don't know about the sweat, thank you. That's much better. But it's certainly very fast-paced and frantic. My thumb sweated, but that was about it, really.
What are the players like? And notice I'm making that.
Yeah, I was
gesture.
doing that a lot as well. The players are fantastic. The muscles, the tattoos, the outfits. And some of the players, when they're standing at the side of the court ready to throw the ball in as well, you can see their eyes move. It's really detailed.
How does all that extra niceness make it feel when you play the game?
Well, when you play the game, it doesn't make that big a difference, but when you're watching the replays, it's like watching TV, it's like watching you on TV. It's fantastic.
And finally, a football game. No, not that one. Another one. Pro Evolution Soccer, which for some reason has seen fit to drop the ISS.
This instalment of the award-winning series claims to be more advanced, more entertaining, and give you an even more realistic gaming experience than the others, with more special effects like rain, fireworks, smoke, and confetti, and added freedom of player movement. But will it win the cup, or have to slope off for an early bath?
He shoots. There are so many football games at the moment. Can you tell me specific differences between this and any of the other games on the market?
Well, personally, I'm going to say something quite controversial, and it felt fairly similar to me. But apparently, I mean, this game is meant to be much smoother than the rest, and tactically you're meant to be able to kind of double around players a lot better.
That's a foul. Is this game better in multiplayer mode?
I think you have to play it multiplayer to really enjoy it. Playing a single player, there's still a lot there, but multiplayer, it really comes alive.
Is this worth getting?
This is the one you have to get. This is the definitive.
Why is it the definitive?
Not just because it has the names, which it does now, but because it's the most realistic. It's most like real football and real life that men play.
How many goals you got in one game?
One. Which isn't bad because it's hard to score.
Paul.
Yeah.
Just leave it there.
Sorry.
And it's a goal!
Swivel on it. So there we go. This week's loser with no votes is cricket. Rubbish game in real life. Does it transfer so well? I can't say. In second place with 1 vote, it's basketball, bouncing the ball around. And this week's winner is Pro Evolution Soccer, the soccer game. Are you a skinny, puny white boy from the English suburbs, a bit like me? Do you fancy pretending to be a big, tough black fella from the Bronx? Well, now you can, because Mike Tyson is making a comeback to the PlayStation with Mike Tyson Heavyweight Boxing. Developers Codemasters are boasting about their specially written facial damage graphics engine, which sounds deeply unpleasant, but is actually rather cool. You can go face-to-face with Tyson in third or first-person views, can create your own boxes, or progress through fights in 7 gaming modes. As you progress, more challenges and game features are unlocked in preparation to enter the ring with Tyson himself. And if you want to teach Mike Tyson a lesson for being such a rather naughty young man, then Heavyweight Boxing is out on the PS2 in April this year.
No, boxing's just pointless violence. Now, Reckless, that's violence with loads of points. Reckless is a high-speed, mission-based racer set in Hong Kong. Players choose to play the Japanese Mafia or the anti-Yakuza. Whatever you choose, Reckless claims it's ultra-realistic, completely free roaming, has interactive environments, unique missions, real-time car damage, instant replays, and action-packed gameplay. Or so it says on the tin. Due for release on the Xbox, Q2, 2002.
Thanks a lot, Alex. Keep digesting that, and I certainly will be keen to see what comes out. Thanks. Now, I've noticed that a lot of kids these days are wearing baseball caps, so I'm nearly 100% certain that All-Star Baseball is going to be a massive hit on the PS2. There are 30 major league teams and over 700 players with lifelike face textures for superb graphic detail. There's play-by-play analysis with commentary from some guy called Bob Brenly, who's probably famous in America, and all 30 major league baseball stadiums. What's really exciting is that there is an innovative 3D batting interface available, which actually puts a bat in your hand.
No doubt about it, baby. Home run.
But before we go, Ian and I are going to have a little bit of fun killing things on screen.
When we've done that, you can visit our website at www.channel4.com/Thumb Bandits. See ya. Oh, look at this, Duncan. Now we'll get some fucking work done around here, young man. Was that what you wanted? I got a bit confused.
Come and give us a hug.
Get away.
Give us a hug.
No.
Come and give us a hug.
Goodbye.
Someone give me a hug. Give me a hug, you fuckers.
No, covering the drugs is a cannabis-fueled burnout.
Covering the rock and roll and the rough and tumble is Punch 'em Up WWF.
And apart from all that, you'll find news, reviews, and in approximately 25 minutes, the end credits. But first, Christmas is coming and the goose is getting fat, but not as fat as a wad of dough that Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo are hoping to get this festive season. As gamers, we are the target of large corporations who've spent much time and much money trying to figure out how to get us into the shops, and then how to get us to part with our cash. So, right now, to even things up a bit, we're gonna pull back the curtain and reveal the tricks of the ad man's trade.
Let's start with a look back at the gaming ads of yesteryear.
Worried about what to get the kids for Christmas?
Well, worry no more. Get them Stick.
Way back in 1995, Sony unleashed their PlayStation on a game-skeptical public. The problem was how to interest a consumer who hadn't played computer games since they were at school.
So give them Stick. Better that than they get PlayStation. Remember, Saps, do not underestimate the power of PlayStation.
The SAPS ad sets out the brand values that PlayStation have continued to build. And so PlayStation set up as a subversive thing to have.
Stickity, stickity, stick. In 1997, the Shapes campaign hit our screens. It was brilliant in its simplicity. All the complexities of the PlayStation brand were distilled into, well, some shapes.
Do not underestimate the power of the PlayStation. Could almost be a proclamation from Al Qaeda. It sounds like some secret terrorist sect that's saying we're much, much more dangerous than you think, and it's incredibly flattering to the target audience, as well as an incredibly powerful way to describe all the clever stuff that's locked up inside that box.
For years I've lived a double life.
The Double Life ads graced our screens in 1998. They had a slightly different agenda to the previous campaigns.
I live a life of exhilaration.
Of missed heartbeats and adrenaline.
You see, gaming at this time had kind of a crappy image. Games were seen as childish, sad, and tragically unhip. PlayStation ads said exactly the opposite. Immerse yourself in a cool anti-authoritarian culture.
If you're passionate about gaming and you don't want to appear like some kind of nerd or geek, to make you feel part of some secret society or a glamorous, dangerous subversive with loads of power is a great appeal.
Conquered worlds.
That's a bit everyone remembers.
But that's Christmas past. Now we have the powerful PlayStation 2 and the uber advanced Game Boy Advance. These super slick machines come with equally slick ads.
Welcome to the third place.
PlayStation ads, it's the content of the ad that selects the target audience. Kids that are too young won't understand it. So the ad is actually selecting the people who understand it and are into it.
Enough PlayStation already. What about the Game Boy?
Well, the Game Boy ads are very, very different from the PlayStation ads. We know that the target audience for Game Boys is, the average age is 18 years old. This guy is in his early 20s. So they're obviously trying to reach an adult audience.
But what of the future? Well, you haven't escaped the clutches of the ad men yet. The conveyor belt of consumerism just keeps on rolling.
Microsoft's first ploy is word of mouth. Yeah, they want to be the talk of the gaming town.
Initially, we want to make sure that the hardcore gamers are really convinced about the Xbox, and then that word-of-mouth engine will continue on. And if they've already sort of embraced the brand, then they'll join the party.
And Nintendo's GameCube is arriving next summer. If the American launch is anything to go by, we Brits can expect a long, hot summer of Cube clubs. With zany, what would you do for a GameCube competitions? And loads of freebies. Score!
I know absolutely sod all about American wrestling. Proper wrestling with real wrestlers like Big Daddy and Kendo Nagasaki, well, that's different. I think we all deep down inside respect a big fat bastard in a leotard beating the crap out of another fat man. It's primal, instinctive, like the need to sniff a girl's shoes when she leaves the room.
But the designers haven't bothered to make a wrestling game based on our pie-guzzling Saturday afternoon heroes. Instead, they've gone for the slightly more lucrative world of WWF.
WWF SmackDown features some of the biggest names from this pretend sport. Now, I only know they're famous because I asked a 12-year-old and he assures me that The Rock is wicked, whatever that means.
You get a choice of playing options, including the story section, where you have to make it in the crazy world that is WWF. and this adds a little to the game, but really, all you want is to get sweaty and pummel 1 or 2 men in the ring. So forget the story and just head to the tournament.
Now, I've been singing its praises so far, and it has loads of features, all different kinds of fights and teams, and this will make 1 million teenagers on council estates cream themselves. But it isn't flawless. The controls are terrible, really fiddly and complicated. Now, I'm a busy man. I do not have 2 hours to spend working out how to make an American put another American into a half Nelson. I want to be able to do it instantly.
That's it, grab his arm, twist him round, kick him in the back like a big girl! But to be honest, this game hasn't really been designed for me. It's been made for those mysterious fans of WWF, the ones who are genuinely surprised that this is not an Olympic sport. And to be honest, I think they'll love this. God bless them. Smack him around the face, the tart!
Welcome to the Thumb Bandits news desk, where we bring you news from the global gaming village. Here's the village idiot.
I'm fully armed, but my Pokeballs ready to go. In full effect, I got Pikachu. Jesse and James, prepare for double trouble. We'll take a bow to the notorious couple.
They're called 50-Point Grind, and the track is Gotta Catch 'Em All.
I choose you!
New metal American thrash meets crap Japanese animation in a healthy example of how not to reach your target audience. Anyone over 9 who does not see through this is probably in the band. Not really Limp Bizkit, more just limp. Alex, do you see my pocket monster?
And staying Japanese, game-making legends SNK have finally bowed out after 20 years of video gaming. The company responsible for the Neo Geo Pocket have finally lost the uphill struggle against the Game Boy.
Oh, R.I.P. SNK. Elsewhere, new British developers Prey Digital are set to unveil their brand new title, Stung.
The premise of the game is a tongue-in-cheek take in the Half-Life plot, with a war raging between modified insects with micro-machine-style obstacles, including kettles and flypaper traps. It looks like it's gonna be a real holler.
Now, in the run-up to Christmas, Burnout publishers Acclaim are blatantly courting controversy with their stance on drug driving. Yes, research they claim to have carried out indicates that playing their game whilst stoned improves your performance.
Acclaim say that being moderately high can improve your lap times, race tactics, and racing line, but they are warning everyone that taking a hit within the game will slow you down.
All avid viewers will know that 3 empty seats and 3 expectant screens means it's kangaroo court, judge and jury time. This week's gun-toting gamers are Paul, Scott and Rowan.
This week we're looking at the best new shoot-'em-up, facing the Firing Squad or Time Crisis 2, Headhunter and Ghost Recon.
Out for the Dreamcast in November, Headhunter. In the not-so-distant future, committing a crime means that you're indebted to the state. If you don't have the cash, you're paying in body parts, mate.
This could only come from the sick and twisted mind of an X-Files creator. Hey, it did. But did our jury think that it was X-rated or X-directory?
Keep your eyes open. That headhunter could show up and the boss wants him bad.
Is it eye candy or an eyesore?
Very much eye candy. It's a gorgeous looking game. Best part of the game for me is the story, the plot itself. Very filmic, very cinematic. You get very involved in it.
Anything let it down?
Yeah, for me it was too much of a mix of styles, too much of a mix of genres of game.
It compares to Metal Gear Solid. It has aspects of Driver, even things like Silent Hill and Tomb Raider in there as well. But then it's disturbed by the fact that you're changing your style straight away almost.
Talk to me, Paul. Who is going to like this game?
If you're an RPG fan, a shooter fan, then it's going to suit your fancy because it's got both in there.
And finally, is it worth the price?
For £30, it's great value.
Time Crisis 2 won't blow you away with any highfalutin plots or concepts. The idea is simple. Shoot them before they shoot you!
Action! 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 Action!
How does this compare to the first one? Is this as good, as better, not as good?
Well, pretty much the same, but I mean it's been updated for the PS2, so it's nicer graphics, going a bit faster.
What's the story like?
I don't really care. The story and time crisis is never the most important part. You pick it up to shoot for a while, you get the bloodlust to put it down.
Now, what would you say is the worst part of this game?
The fact that it does become very repetitive very quickly.
What would you say is the worst part of this game?
Game over.
Last and perhaps least is Ghost Recon. Now, author Tom Clancy's name may not instantly conjure up images of battle-worn hard men, but if you're a fan of the Rainbow Six series, then you already associate this guy with facial scars and extreme forms of heavy weaponry.
Equipped with the latest battlefield technology and trained in the latest techniques of covert warfare, they strike swiftly, silently, invisibly. They call themselves the Ghosts.
Ghost Recon, where does it fall in the great genre scheme of things?
Oh, bit of a tricky one that. It's a shooter, but it's quite tactical as well, so it takes a wee bit of time to get into.
Does it bring out the soldier in you, cowboy?
I'm afraid my fatigues are still in the cupboard.
Now, how difficult was Ghost Recon to pick up and play for a console gamer like yourself?
Very difficult, actually. It's very thorough, very exacting. As a strategy game, there is a lot you have to learn in the first place anyway, but it seemed like I was spending a long time just training.
So are you ready to drag your fatigues on then?
Yeah, I've got the trousers on at least. Just let me run and find my coat.
Now then, Scott, you're a bit of a PC strategy boy. How does it compare to other strategy titles?
It's great, it's fantastic. I loved it. If you like the likes of Project IGI, Rogue Spear, Rainbow Six, then this game's for you. What I liked about it from the start was the way that you controlled your squad. They had a bit of an AI, they knew what they were doing, but you could control them, you could give them suggestions and orders.
You're a bit of a control freak then?
Well, yeah, at home, yeah.
Ooh, I don't want to know about that.
So, with immaculately bad taste, it would appear our gamers enjoyed all 3 games this evening, but there's only one that can blast their head off. With votes of 2-1, it's Headhunter.
Greetings, etc. Generic expression of gratitude followed by teasing mention of what's to come.
Ditto, accompanied by girly smile.
That's conversational shorthand.
And now for something slightly sad. The Dreamcast, the original next-generation console, looks like it's going to be the first 128-bit machine to be consigned to the technological dustbin.
As 2001 may be the last we hear of the Dreamcast, we thought we'd have a look at the console's top-selling games. Part chart, part obituary. A chobituary, if you will.
Dead or Alive has had several incarnations, but one thing has remained throughout: the buxom women. Sure, there are great interactive and multi-leveled fighting arenas. Sure, it has one of the best fighting systems. But Dead or Alive is all about taking scantily clad women who could have you for breakfast, or preferably before breakfast, and getting them to perform some extraordinary high kicks.
At number 4 is Sonic Adventure. Sega's Hedgehog mascot has come on leaps and bounds since he appeared on the Sega Genesis console in 1991. Sonic Adventure may be 3D, but at the end of the day, what we're talking about here is still collecting rings and defeating end-of-level baddies and Sonic's nemesis, Dr. Robotnik.
Crazy Taxi is in 3rd place. While so many driving games opt to play the SIM card, Crazy Taxi decided to play the Crazy card. The more you drive like a joyrider, the better it gets. The music's good and the passengers scream and the pedestrians run for cover. I guess deep down, everyone wants to be a Travis Bickle.
Far from being a simple PlayStation to Dreamcast copy or an update, Resident Evil, codenamed Veronica, is hailed by many as the best in the series. No surprise then to find the game at the number 2 spot. It's got more blood in it than a Carey High School reunion.
Ooh. But looking like the cat that got the cream in the Dreamcast Game of the Year chart is Star Wars Episode 1, Jedi Power Battles. As the name suggests, the game involves Jedi power battles. Your wits, skill and telekinetic powers go up against droids and evildoers in that galaxy far, far away. Each level relates specifically to the film. This is the game you are looking for.
So the Dreamcast is on the way out, proving that it's the Betamax of the next generation. Pray a moment's silence for its 128 bits.
I don't think so, to be honest, love.
Oh, why not?
Well, because it imbues an inanimate object with what are essentially uniquely human feelings. And to be honest, it's just a plastic consumer product.
Okay. Fire. Water. Earth. Air. The 4 elements, but who, what, and where is the 5th? Enough of all this New Age hokum. New York Race is a futuristic racing game that's loosely based on a high-profile film, The 5th Element. It features hovering ships, stunning locations, and more adrenaline than a bungee jump on amphetamines. Well, we've heard that one before. 1999's Phantom Menace tried this very same tactic. Take the only worthwhile scene in a relatively poor film, turn it into a racing game, and suck it dry. Firstly, it's too bloody hard. This isn't pick up and play, this is pick up and get a degree in thumb bending. Secondly, there's no sense of speed. A New York race requires too much brain power. Despite the jaw-dropping city streets, the game is dull. But you still have to work like a bastard to get to the end of the level. And what about multiplayer versus 2 on PlayStation 2 and up to 8 on PC? It is a saving grace because against a human being, you actually have a chance to beat your opponent. New York Race is a classic example of style over content. On the surface, it's deep, but deep down, it's shallow. It's out to buy now for the PC, the PlayStation 2, and the Game Boy Advance.
Looking forward to next April with more Glee than the Taxman. It's time for Sneaky Peek.
Hey man, hang 10, get gnarly with your goofy foot and cut sick as you check out the awesomeness of everything that's Trans World Surf for the Xbox, dude.
Yeah, shut up and speak English. What Alex is trying to say is that Microsoft's Plastic Breeze block will be releasing an extreme sports series in autumn of 2002.
Transworld Surf features a Test Your Karma feature as you ride on the crest of a wave and interact with obstacles like other surfers, photographers, bodyboarders and dolphins. If your karma meter reaches the levels of a McDonald's employee, you better watch out because it triggers shark attacks. Transworld Surf will be rip curling and toe curling its way onto an Xbox near you in September 2002.
One of the most important games for the Xbox launch is Shrek. Now, there haven't been very many characters throughout history whose farts have been used as deadly weapons. But then again, there haven't been very many ogres who were born and bred in festering putrid swamps. It's one of the Xbox's launch titles. You take control of the Great Green One as he travels through 4 worlds, 12 levels, and 36 missions during 80 hours of gameplay.
Forget all that cloak and dagger nonsense about secret game development because we can unveil new footage of the Cape Crusader on the GameCube. And for someone who's been fighting crime for over 60 years, this pensioner still looks rather sprightly.
The plot of Batman Dark Tomorrow is the usual jiggery-pokery about an evil mastermind, a plan for world dominance, and an orphan with a major crime-fighting chip on his shoulder. But from what we've seen so far, this may well prove to be the best of the series to date. The makers have enlisted the help of real Hollywood stuntmen to help animate some of the set pieces in the game. Look out for some fantastically grimy looking playing environments like the sewers, the downtown area and notorious Arkham Asylum.
Batman Dark Tomorrow will be available on the GameCube when the console is released over here next autumn.
Ah, well, it's getting on for
Oh,
nearly...
yes, it is.
What have we got next week?
I don't know.
Ah, well, I do, you see. We've got James Bond, Jack and Daxter, Worms, and more on the Xbox.
And don't forget our competition on the website at www.channel4.com/Thumb Bandits.
I'm glad that's over. Do you fancy a little pre-Christmas drink?
But no, let's play Spunky Monkey. It's fantastic. You drink as much beer as you can, and the last person to...
No, that involves climbing off a monkey's back, so it's quite unpleasant.
No, let's play quarters.
What's that?
It's an American game. Take quarters, bounce them, pop them in the bottom.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like any fun whatsoever. Let's play The Drunk Lady Sings.
No, let's play Asshole.
Now you're talking.
Coming up in this week's show,
Xbox is on the spot as we sent Alex along to the UK unveiling of Microsoft's new console.
Ian trots out a load of classic TV gags as he reviews James Bond. Go on, Ian. Say Miss Funny Fanny.
Stop it, Alex. Basically, we let our hair down and have loads of fun because it's Christmas! Brilliant! But first up...
I can give 2 pieces of advice to anybody who wants to become a pro snowboarder. First, don't eat the yellow snow. Second, practice, practice, practice.
But please, sir, I live in the desert and there's no snow or mountain and therefore I can't go snowboarding. Well, don't worry, kids. We've got the solution.
This, my unathletic compadre, is the Pro Play game board, and this
is its ridiculous tiny Wii controller. Now, you can play virtually any PlayStation game you want on it, but it was obviously originally designed for skate, surf, and snowboarding. Now, it works using the pressure principle, which means basically you stand on it, you weave around like a holy dancer in slow motion, and then hopefully you get to the end of the race. Now, lanky, hop on and prepare to eat snow.
The board has directional sensors underneath and a hand controller which controls speed and jumps. In addition, the controller vibrates, ensuring that you feel every bump on the way down. Fantastic! And I look so cool doing it too.
Iain and I are playing Sean Palmer's Pro Snowboarder, a brand new PlayStation 2 race and freestyling snowboarding game featuring the 6-time Winter X Game gold champion Sean Palmer himself. In the game, you play in 8 real-world locations and with one of 9 top borders.
Well, it certainly adds something to the game. It won't make a bad game good, but it can make a good game, well, a little bit too awkward to play, to be honest. It feels nice suspension, but I'm having trouble working out what I'm doing here and comparing it with what's on the screen.
I'm the king of the hill! Boards are a good add-on to your cupboard of ridiculous gaming peripherals, but unless you're one of those irritating extreme kids, you probably won't have it at the top of your Christmas list. And remember, even if you're rubbish at the real thing, even Iain can almost stay on for about 5 seconds without humiliating himself.
How long was that?
I'm sick of shooting, of killing, of maiming, of causing unnecessary pain. I want to do something good. I want to give love, man, not take it away. I want to be in a Disney movie. And Jak and Daxter on the PlayStation 2 is just about as close to Nirvana as I'm gonna get.
You see, once upon a time there lived a comedy duo named Jak and Daxter. They lived a peaceful existence next to the sea.
Wow! How did you do that?
One day, however, they decided to take an ill-fated walk, and Daxter fell into a pit filled with a substance that turned him into vermin. Cue adventure with hilarious consequences.
Man, that stung!
Jak and Daxter is very Donkey Kong, very Mario, very Zelda. Hey, it's a very Nintendo game. It's an innocuous 3D action adventure with immense levels, beautiful graphics, and literally thousands of unusual objectives, from catching 200 pounds of fresh fish to trapping an artist's muse. Shock horror, it's on the PlayStation 2.
Across an impossibly vast 15-level world, you interact with at least 35 characters who give you primary tasks that open up new worlds, new goals, and new minigames.
Here's a power cell for your valor.
It's seamlessly pieced together and strangely non-linear for a plot-driven game. If you thought the between-level train sequence in Tomb Raider 4 was inventive, well, prepare to add new brain cells, because this really challenges.
Every area can be revisited and everything is exactly as you left it. Kind of like living in your own flat. You know that when you wake up the next morning, those dishes you couldn't be arsed to wash will still be there, festering away.
Now, if you only use your console for GT3, Tekken, and multiplayer FIFA, then leave Jak and Daxter behind. This game isn't for the post-pub, pissed-up, doobie-smoking muncher. This is not a social PlayStation game.
But it's an excellent, inoffensive PlayStation 2 romp through a Nintendo-like world. Fun. One for your kid sis or your grandma. Or those over 27-year-olds who insist on catching all the Pokemon, all the apples, and all the stars. Like me. Christmas! Here you go, Iain. I got something for you.
Oh, nice one. Thanks very much. Alex, I got you a present as well, which is so cool. Now, it's estimated that total spending on games by the end of the year 2001 will be £1.5 billion. So get rid of that brute and get something hip, cool and futuristic for your best friend.
Oh!
Nice one.
A Dreamcast.
Dreamcast, what I've always wanted.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Now's the time for our jury to undergo another marathon thumb-bashing session in the interest of worldwide gaming. And because 'tis the season to be jolly, we've given them some top comedy titles that'll get the whole family pissing themselves around the Christmas television.
3 games will pivot and grind in front of our panel, but they can pick only one. First up, Worms Blast for the PlayStation 2, PC, GBA and GameCube.
Similar to the puzzle bobble genre, this time we battle against friends online if you must. But does it rise to the surface or wallow in its own mulch?
Worms Blast, 3D at last. Are the graphics impressive?
Well, you said 3D, Alex. I have to correct you. It's 2D game. Strictly 2D puzzle game. It's not your usual mayhem, Worms battle, really.
How does Worms Blast compare to the original?
Well, not very much at all. Your deathmatch is more like a quibble. It's something like Tetris almost, with all your blocks and rows and everything, but you don't really have much else to death over.
Why have they tried to pull something like this out of a Worms franchise?
To make money, Alex, and let's be honest.
Dirty, filthy lucre.
It's an old idea, they've revamped it.
Next up is the off-the-wall Floygan Brothers, featuring Moigle, who is apparently the most realistic AI character ever made. The game has 13 areas of junkyard, over a dozen mini-games, and the ability to trade your Moigle across the internet. Is this an hilarious, fun-filled romp, or tiresome, irritating nonsense? Can there be such a thing as a comedy computer game?
Wasn't quite convinced until I saw Floygan Brothers, which is very funny.
Well, tell us what bit made you laugh.
You get to give your brother a nice big hug.
You get to give your brother a nice big hug, and that's your idea of an hilarious joke, is it, Paul? Giving your brother a big hug.
Well, it's a funny hug, and he's a big guy, and you're wee.
When you put it like that, it sounds absolutely brilliant. You say it with a big Name some other funny bits in there.
There is a very cute cat, which turns out to be evil.
Paul, can I stop you there? Cute, evil cats are not funny. That's quite a serious thing. Let's not make any jokes about that. It's a puzzle game. The puzzles are important. Are they challenging enough?
They're challenging to the point of frustration.
Can you give us some examples for people who haven't seen the game or heard the game? Can you do some of the different voices for us?
It's Moida. That's one of the voices.
Well, that was just your normal voice. Well, let's move on. Moigle is supposed to be the most realistic cartoon character ever made. Is this true?
He certainly looks the part, but I found him very annoying. Very annoying big fat look.
It seems that the Floygan brothers get a sort of thumbs up from our people for what they think of Polaroid Pete. You play Pete, whose job is to stalk people in a paparazzi style, you dirty beasts. The game was originally called Gebiko 2 in Japan, but JVC picked it up for release in Europe along with Polaroid, hence the new name. Weirdo Pete Goldman is a newshound desperate to gain the Pulitzer Prize for photos of Japanese events. There are 14 locations, including Pete's own wedding, but you can't afford to be snap happy. Film is mighty expensive, as your mum always told you. But will our jury get the money shot this evening, or will it be a bit of a soggy tissue?
Well, basically, you're working for a paper and you're the paparazzi as such. You've got to go out and take pictures of controversial episodes in life. So, like, taking a picture of Godzilla is going to be worth more points than a picture of a Japanese schoolgirl.
How playable is it?
Oh, so playable. You end up with, well, I find myself playing it for hours on end. I think it's great.
Now, the graphics on this look a bit weird. Do they add or detract to the game?
I think they add. I mean, it's a really daft game. It's a daft idea. You are in taking pictures of everything, so the graphics fit, really.
Pete's got a bit of a weird walk, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think they've definitely motion captured John Cleese for this one.
What's the perviest thing you've got to take a picture of?
Japanese schoolgirls.
No, shut up. Really?
Yeah.
Do you think this type of game will take off in the UK and Europe?
We'll possibly get a small cult following, but games like Parappa the Rapper or Rib Ribbon never really smash the market.
When you're playing the game, are you motivated to get to the end goal, or is it just a bit boring?
Oh no, you definitely want to get to the end. Nice short levels as well, and you want to get through the levels and see all the crazy comedy moments.
Tell us some of the crazy comedy moments that you spotted.
Well, there was a big dinosaur and it stood on a guy.
Imagine you're the wife of that guy who's been stood on by a dinosaur. How hilarious is that?
It's not funny.
Exactly. So with uncharitable Christmas spirit, our jury wouldn't thank you for Worms this year. They wouldn't mind the Floygan brothers on their Christmas list, but it'll definitely be Polaroid Pete that will get them having a happy, raucous, crazy Christmas time Yuletide. Clicky teeth with the hands on the top. Hello, I've got red hair, the eyes. You should have a shave. That's not a film title, that's just a suggestion. Hello, welcome back to Thumb Bandits, where there's a kind of end of term type feel, because me and Alex are playing a fantastic game of charades. But don't feel left out. If you want to play some family favourites at home, check out our top 5 party games you might be interested in. I've got it, Arthur 2 on the rocks.
If you prefer to make your embarrassing fashion faux pas in the privacy of your own home, then look no further than Cosmopolitan Virtual Makeover 3 for the PC. While not a game, it is great fun and a wet dream for narcissists. Change your hair, your eye color, and even see what your wedding photos will look like. Oh, that's so not me. Oh, yeah, that's better.
It's an oldie, but it's just too good to leave out. Yep, put on your drainpipe jeans and get down to Dance Dance Revolution. You'll need a couple of dance mats and your PlayStation, and once everyone's overcome their initial embarrassment, they'll be leaping about like a demented Spice Girl.
Gambling's a mug's game, but if you're gonna gamble, you might as well play at home. It's safer and you're less likely to burst out crying and plead for your money back. Caesar's Palace on the Dreamcast, PC, and PlayStation will give you all the thrills of Las Vegas, but where are all the cocktail waiters and sexy croupiers?
Next up, if you're out for that elusive Christmas kiss, well, forget mistletoe. Just practice your pulling technique with the Sims Hot Dates expansion pack for the PC. You can take your dream dates out on the town, and with over 40 new social interactions, the Sims can flirt, play footsie, get off with each other, gossip about the couple at the next table, or chat in Simlish about what colour underwear they're wearing.
And finally, warble or gangster rap into the MTV Music Generator's special microphone sampler kit, which is available for the PlayStation 2 and has great potential for embarrassment.
Pussy.
Right, let's not piss around. There is, as we all know, only one James Bond. One man alone has portrayed the super spy accurately, and that performance, of course, comes from Roger Moore. Forget tax exile Connery or the New Zealand fella. Moore is Bond.
007. A CIA agent is being held in this research facility. She was caught while retrieving a case containing suspicious research materials.
Unfortunately, the new James Bond game Agent Under Fire on the PS2 features current 007 Pierce Brosnan. Now, I haven't seen a Bond film since the crushing disappointment of actually paying to go and see Octopussy.
Anyway, although I've never seen Brosnan play Bond, I do know what he looks like, and it's nothing like the fella in this game. This chap looks more like a milkman. Quite a handsome milkman, it must be said, but a deliverer of milk nonetheless.
Your sexy assistant is reminiscent of Jennifer Lopez, and no doubt this sort of game will become the mucky book of the 21st century for horny 13-year-olds.
What is important is this.
Is the game any good?
Yes, it's shit hot.
First off, the game looks beautiful. These are stylish graphics that almost meet the promise of the PS2. Buildings look great, and other characters have a kind of realism about them that makes it more fun when you shoot them in the eyes with your water PPK.
We have an intruder. Do not let him escape.
Being Bond, you need weapons and gadgets, and they're an impressive display here. Laser cutters, door decoders, bra unfasteners. They're all at your disposal as you guide 007 to victory against international evil and bad people in general. Now, these are the sort of gadgets that every young boy dreams of having when he's playing spies, and it's a pleasure to use them in this game. But before you ladies write in, I only say boys because I am a boy and I don't understand the minds of girls.
An important factor in these type of games is the learning curve. Make it too difficult to start with and you'll play it twice. Make it too easy and it'll be finished in 20 minutes. James Bond gets it just right. The earlier missions are smaller and are geared up to teaching you how to use your collection of tools, but they gradually grow and get harder at a decent pace, without leaving you behind.
What separates this from other movie tie-ins is the fact the story has been especially created for the game. It's your standard Bond fare, of course, but at no point in the game are you trying to recreate a scene from a film. It's all up to you. Anyway, I must go because I've just got a copy of Moonraker. I've been told it's absolutely fantastic. But before I do shoot off, I will just say that James Bond Agent Under Fire is a brilliant game. And I, for one, certainly can't say Dr. No to this beauty.
James Bond Agent Under Fire is out now for the PS2.
Well, at last, after all the hype and the build-up, it's finally here. Well, almost. Today is the first day us Brits can finally get our grubby little mitts on a fully fledged, totally legitimate Xbox. Microsoft's new console won't be in the shops in Britain until March next year, but in the months up to the launch, they'll be teasing us with a traveling Xbox experience. The event gives gamers the chance to play on the new machine, to see the graphics, and Microsoft hopes to pre-order one. But mostly they want to create a sense of excitement. I met up with David McCarthy of Edge magazine to take the industry pulse.
When Microsoft do something, the world sits up and takes notice. So, you know, there's a certain kind of brand awareness there already. Halo will. I mean, you know, I've played Halo and it makes me want to go out and buy one. And if I had the money, I'd buy one and import from America.
If this was a movie, I would watch this. But it's not. I can play it. Microsoft marketing guru Richard Tevershem feels confident of their chances.
It's the games and what the games can do. If the games are better, Xbox will win.
It's huge. I mean, just look at the size of this. It's larger than my head. Is bigger better?
I don't know, it's just going to be heavier to carry home from the shops. And in Japan, you know, where they've got kind of really small rooms, like they literally have it, it's actually an issue, you know?
It's 3 times the power of any console today. It will have by far the best games. It has the most powerful graphics chip on the planet. It's got Dolby 5.1 surround. It's got a hard disk. And it's got broadband on board. What we want is a killer launch lineup, but every week after that to have better and better games, and that means that the Xbox will be successful.
But they would say that, wouldn't they? Fortunately, the Microsoft suits are letting the unscrubbed masses get their hands on the big controllers. We asked them for their first impressions.
It's incredible, the sound. You really should listen to the sound yourself. It's like what I expected. It's very impressive. Yeah, I like it already.
The game I liked the most was the fighting game. It was really, the graphics was excellent.
Like, I remember when the PS1 and PS2 came out, I played on it for hours upon hours, and these games, only one or two I can see you playing on for hours and hours. The others, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. It's not a game that would stop you doing your homework.
I thought it was brilliant. Like Project Gotham Racer, you could just pick it up and play it straight in there.
It's easier to control than the PS2. Much easier. Like without a wheel.
First impressions, it looks great. It plays a little bit wobbly, but that's just going to take a bit of getting used to. I'm very happy. March 14th is a big launch day, and by this time next year, we'll know whether the Xbox is the dog's bollocks or just bollocks. And yes, we'll be reviewing Xbox games from February onwards.
One day, this festive madness will end and we'll be able to get back to the important thing of playing games. But until then, here's your chance to be in the know about what's coming up.
First up, it's a first look at the aptly named Johnny Mosley's Mad Tricks. The game, which comes out in February and is the first ever trick-based skiing game on the PlayStation 2, features the talented Olympic gold medalist Mosley himself. Try out his world-famous trademark Mosley jump, the 360 mute grab. The release coincides with the 2002 Winter Olympics in Salt Lake City, Utah, where Johnny hopes his PlayStation practice will stand him in good stead for a second Olympic gold. Finally tonight, Mario's younger brother looking fit as a fiddle, it's Luigi in Luigi's Mansion on the GameCube. Nintendo released their first home video game system way back in 1985. Since then, they've sold more than 1.4 billion games worldwide. So, what of their first and exclusive GameCube title? Luigi's Mansion is a one-player action-adventure and the first to star Mario's younger brother, who you may have spotted popping up in various Nintendo games throughout the ages. It's a typical dark and stormy haunted house kind of night, and Luigi is investigating his newly inherited mansion. This game shows off the GameCube's graphic capabilities. The transparency of the ghosts are effects that Nintendo say only the GameCube can create. We'll be the judge of that.
Well, thanks for joining us this evening on Thumb Bandits on what has been a really special Christmas occasion for all of us.
Join us again in the new year when we'll have loads more great games.
But in the meantime, you must check out our website, www.channel4.com/thumbandits, for games, reviews and hilarity. But what the heck, it's Christmas. Let's forget about computer games. Kids, you can play computer games whenever you want. Right now, I want to sing a carol. Silent night, holy night, all is calm, yeah, all is bright, round young virgin mother and child, holy infant soul. Cheeky little buggers.
That's all coming up
on Thumb Bandits.
Welcome to Thumb Bandits, the show that takes you by the hand and leads you up the garden path of video game fulfillment.
And then bashes you over the back of the head with a baseball bat.
Ian. On the TV channel this week, an infectious mix of the old,
the new,
and the absolutely insane.
So, tie your mother up, throw the cat out, and put your feet up for our first review. I have great difficulty getting along in the real world. Don't worry, it's mainly my fault. Due to my massive consumption of marijuana, I'm slightly paranoid. Nothing major, I just get a bit twitchy when I go and buy milk. And also, I generally can't be bothered to go out that much.
The thing is, now we live in the 21st century, I need never go out again and worry that the fat lady behind the cakes is plotting to remove my testicles. No, thanks to Neocron on the PC, I can exist in my living room all day.
Neocron is an online RPG, but one that's refreshingly different. There are no third-level clerics with cloaks of invisibility and shields of brine, and I'll be buggered if I could find one dwarf. No, Neocron is set a cool 700 years in the future, and is a totally immersive virtual world. It combines the looks of Half-Life with the gameplay of EverQuest, and it's dark, very dark. You can totally live in this world and either go off on exciting adventures alone or in clans, or you can just be a good citizen, get a job and just, hang out.
Although I will state categorically, if you do that, you are a fucking mental and should hand yourself over to the real police. That's not what these games are about. There are so many in-game missions and storylines, it will be rude not to take advantage of them. Go on, kill some mutants. They love it.
Now, for some reason, critics and mums say these online RPGs are antisocial and that they stop kids interacting. But a good title like this has the opposite effect. Neocron has a great in-game chat mode that's simple and lets you choose how many people you talk to.
And where else could you talk so freely to a 16-year-old boy in Israel and a 52-year-old French twat? Neocron encourages interaction between its players, and that makes the game better for it.
But while the game may look and play brilliantly, RPGs like this are dependent on the people who log in and regularly play them. They make the community. For example, the people in EverQuest are nice, while everyone at Ultima is a wanker. Simple. However, considering 62,000 people signed up to test this game before it was even launched, indicates Neocron will have no shortage of interesting players. And it should work. It's a good game that fills a nice gap in the PC market.
And there are no elves. Do you remember when the only person to read Lord of the Rings was the smelly kid at school who always ended up getting a dead arm? Jesus, it makes me sick. Here's the news.
If you're afraid of the dark, of being alone, of big blue furry things, then look away now because Monsters, Inc. are absolutely everywhere.
Whoa! Disney Interactive are spending a record £4 million on the campaign to market its video games for PC, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance and PlayStations 1 and 2. The US launch of the film proved to be the best opening weekend of an animated movie ever, and the games are sure to be as infectious as that little girl I feel so horribly attached to, so keep your eye open for it.
Look, the new commercial's on!
Whatever you think of Disney marketing, they're not the only ones with an eye for opportunity. Everyone's getting in on the act.
It's been creeping into our games more and more. A hoarding here and a brand name there. What am I talking about? Product placement. But does all this in-game advertising spell doom and gloom and tedious ad breaks for us gamers? Or cheaper games?
We went to meet Daniel Bobroff from Microtime Interactive, the first company to place adverts in computer games, to find out what's in it for us.
Gamers need advertising for two simple reasons at the moment. Firstly, it adds to the realism of the experience. And secondly, there is the prospect of advertising directly affecting the funding of games. There are certain types of games which benefit from having brands, suitable brands, placed within them.
You may be surprised to know that product placement is not that new.
James Pond, codename Robocod, was, to my knowledge, the very first example of advertising, paid for advertising. In return for that sum of money, the game was increased in size and additional levels were built.
And it goes even further. Some games, like the FIFA series, must feature McDonald's because FIFA has a sponsorship deal with the Burger Boys. And any game with David Beckham features Adidas. In the past, it's largely been a case of advertisers trying to get into games, but recently the games companies have been going to them.
In the case of Gran Turismo, Sony's major objective with a game that was already selling many, many millions of units was to add to the realism. So they sought out they cherry-picked individual advertisers that they thought would add to the realism of the game.
Obviously, product placement is in its infancy, but it's sure to go the way of films and be worth millions. The worry is that it will become too intrusive. So what can gamers do?
If the ad is in the game, which is non-broadcast electronic media, then it would fall within our remit. And if people wanted to complain about it, then they would need to talk to us. We haven't had any complaints yet about advertisements in games, but it's a medium which is fast developing, so I'm sure it won't be too long.
So, if you don't want adverts in your games, speak up. However, if we must have them, perhaps companies could use the money to make games cheaper. Now there's a thought.
But while it may be good for us in the long term, we say keep your filthy money-grabbing mitts off of our consoles.
Are you on the information superhighway to the danger zone? No? Why the hell not? If you're more Biggles than Maverick, then we've got something to save your sorry little asses.
Not quite sure I go that far, Alex, but we do have the latest in flying games, so sit down, strap yourself in, and get ready for the onboard entertainment. As this week, our jury must decide who's Top Gun and who's Jeremy Spake.
Our regular lab rats are Scott, the video games artist, Jackie, the games addict, and Paul, the boy who works in a games shop.
Set 50 years in the future, you're in charge of super high-tech machinery and must unravel the mysteries of a nasty political plot to ensure world peace. Nothing too challenging then. It's part plot-driven, part arcade flight sim, part tactical war game, and part shoot-'em-up. But will it be dynamite or should it be blasted into oblivion?
For a game that is so near the ground, I would have made the ground more interesting. It's pretty dull. Well, I was expecting to compare it to other PS2 games, but the nearest thing I can compare it to is Desert Strike on the Mega Drive. Same kind of feel, same kind of look, slightly better, of course.
I'm not a fan of this type of game. I didn't know where I was going, what I was supposed to be doing. It's for boys who like facts.
I was amazed by it. Just there's the control you have over the vehicle, the different modes of flight, the way it uses analog buttons to control your sort of bin up and bin down. You can rotate the ship, you can bank the ship. I could go on.
You could go on, but please don't.
Dropship is out now.
We need you.
If you're a fan of the Ace Combat series, you'll know it's shown PC snobs that there can be some really good flying games on consoles.
You'll also be delighted to hear that this title, Distant Thunder, forces the throttling to next-gen quality. Based on the fictional continent of Usea, a giant meteor has caused havoc. As major conflict looms, it's up to you to save humanity. Choose from 20 planes, including the Tornado, Mirage and F-14 Tomcat, and hold onto your stomachs for challenges including dive bomb attacks and intense dogfighting. But will it fly high without jewelry or crash and burn?
At last we've got a PS2 game that looks just like a PC game. Everything from the detail, the environment, the scale, the lighting, the effects, the sound, it's all gorgeous. When you've completed a full mission, you can sit back, watch the replay from 7 or so different cameras, and when you shoot down a plane with a missile, you can home in on the missile and follow it all the way home.
If you're looking for a flight sim, you're not going to find it here because it's very much an arcade shooter, but it doesn't pretend to be anything else.
It was the first flight game I really enjoyed playing. The controls were really intuitive. The missions were clear, and it was just really satisfying when you got to the end of a mission. You were like, yes! I like the plane-to-plane intercom. You can chat to your co-pilots. It really does make you feel part of a team.
Ace Combat 4 is out now.
If you've had enough of conspiracies, combat, evil bastards, and nasty plots, then why not a rocket-powered space race?
Welcome. I say welcome to the most spectacular racing.
This is Looney Tunes' first outing on the PlayStation 2, but you can expect to see 8 worlds, 13 tracks, a new tournament system where first place unlocks new games, and 9 characters. Space Race was first seen on the Dreamcast. Will PlayStation 2 owners find the gags, tricks, hilarity, and all-round rocket racer upgrades interstellar, or would they rather stick it up Uranus?
We've gone for the cel-shaded look, which is apt because it's a cartoon-based game, and I've done it really well. Looks like a cartoon, feels like a cartoon, looks great.
It looks absolutely stunning, but are the looks just for surface?
I think in this game they're very important because otherwise it'd be quite a dull kids racer. But there's still some nice points in there. You get the Acme power-ups, like the used to get in the cartoons, the hole you could drop, paint on the wall.
It's fun, it's pick up and play. You don't have to spend hours learning what to do and conquering missions.
This is very much a kid's game,
is it?
I have to say.
Well, is it good value for money as a kid's game?
It's good value for money if you think 40 quid's worth keeping kids shut up for half an hour, which it probably is. It's like Wipeout with Bugs Bunny.
Hello, is this thing on?
So the results are in, and this week's third place cancelled flight is Space Race because
it's for babies.
In second place, quite a comfortable flight, but there's no vegetarian option. It's Dropship because
it's overly complicated.
So this week's winner, it's an all-expenses return trip on Concorde piloted by Captain Biggles himself. It's Ace Combat because
they like it best.
Can I see your boarding pass, please, sir? Get off.
Nintendo, for all of its monkey business, don't condone monkey love. So for you psychos out there who prefer to carnally communicate with our pre-prehensile ancestors, you guys are smoking too many bananas. Come out of your tree and play Super Monkey Ball, the game cube owners are dying to get their mitts on. It is pure, clean monkey fun.
So there's this monkey, right? And he's in a ball, yeah? He's like a happy monkey. And you've got to get your cheerful chimp from A to B without chucking him into beautifully rendered oblivion. The 90 obstacle-ridden monkey mazes range from the piss easy to the completely obtuse. The extremely sensitive analog stick controls the pitch of the course and not the sphere, which takes a little getting used to. And you're gonna need a hand as steady as a nun's to play with these balls. Some of the later levels are just plain impossible, with moving platforms, pinball bumpers, and infuriating slopes so steep you'll want to bend the controller to the breaking point to fight against them.
But there's more, so much more. There are secret warps to skip levels and mini games more addictive than monkey nuts. Lock and lurch to the impressive monkey billiards, the totally trippy monkey golf, and the truly phenomenal monkey bowling.
Twitch with up to 4 players on Monkey Race. Go mental with Monkey Fight. And lose yourself to Monkey Target, the most wonderful party game to land with a clunk on planet Earth. Have I lost you? Here's a clue. Float your monkey on air currents and try to drop him on target. The pleasure is almost indescribable. Just ask my flatmates. They haven't stopped playing for 76 hours.
For these ingenious gems, may I heartily recommend that you gather up your most competitive, most hairy-backed amigos for an all-nighter fueled with loads of booze. Believe me, you will not tire of this one for Cro-Magnon ages.
Sega's Super Monkey Ball is the perfect game for a launch lineup because it's just filled with stuff to do. Stuff to become unemployed for. Stuff that will make playing Super Monkey Ball more important than food. The people who dreamed up this shit were obviously nutcases, but luckily for us, they were nutcases who love games.
And when it's all over, if it's ever all over, you get the added bonus of playing silly little mini-games through the credits. Go ape over Monkey Ball, cause I did. Expect it to swing onto the shelves when the GameCube is released. The early 80s, and if your happiest teenage memories involve skipping off school and heading behind the bike sheds for a bit of snogging and going to the arcades and asking your mates to play Space Invaders, then join the club.
Yeah, happy days indeed, but days that may not be over. Meet someone who can help you relive those crazy memories. Let's play cards like Kit. Yeah, what are you doing?
Nothing.
Did you just have your arm around me?
No.
That's taking advantage.
This is Chris, and he's an addict. It started slowly at first, with just the one, but his habit got worse and worse. His friends all warned him about it, but he didn't listen. It began to take over his life. And now look at him.
I started collecting video games when I was about 16 and basically took over the house and had them in the garage and absolutely everywhere, the toilet. And it got to a stage where I had to sell some, and so many people asked for them that I decided when I lost my job and got made redundant to do it as a full-time job. We get us machines from basically everywhere. We actually go abroad, search countries, we go to the States, chicken sheds, barns, anywhere that's got them, we will find them. The machine we found in the worst condition would be the Star Wars cockpit, which was found in a farmer's barn with a family of chickens living in it. And I've restored that one to immaculate condition over 2 years, and it's in my dining room where it's going to stay.
So what's the rarest?
The rarest and most unusual would be the Tron. It uses a black light and it's got exceptionally good graphics.
What's the oldest and most expensive?
The oldest one that we have got in Arcade Warehouse is the Space Invader machine. The most expensive one is probably the Star Wars there. The cockpit version of that changes hands for £2,000 to £2,500 upwards.
So what are Chris's favourites?
Top three, from my point of view, what customers ask us for is basically it's going to be Space Invaders, Pac-Man, Defender. You mention them and everybody goes, yep, know that game. The appeal of the games is basically everybody wants to relive the youth, so the only place you can play the games is by buying one and having it at home. The machine that I most want, and I want this machine desperately, is a Atari Firefox. which was one of Atari's Laserdisc machines, which I've been personally trying to find it for the past 10 years. And I've researched all over the world, and I still can't find one. So if anybody's got one, let me know.
You've been warned. Arcade machines can take over your life. It's too late for Chris, but it's not too late for you.
You know, Alex, I think we're too good for the people that watch the show. I think we give them too much.
Well, what about the...
Think about it. What have they ever done for us? Niche. And yet, that's right, Alex. Every week I'm playing games, I'm reviewing games, I'm talking about games. I actually sweat blood because of games. And in return, nothing. Not a phone call, not a card, not, hi there, you were really good the other night on the telly.
No, I get stuff, Ian.
Yeah, I get stuff as well. I get, thousands of letters each week saying, I'm going to rip your throat out, you silly sod. I'm talking about gifts and fun things.
Yeah, I get that. I get t-shirts and jewelry and games and cars.
You got cars?
Well, I don't do this for the money, do I?
Yeah, I suppose that's true.
Which is why I say, give the people what they want. Here's some sneaky peeks.
Can you get me an Allegro?
Don't think so.
First up, you lovely people, Freak Style for the PlayStation 2. This fearless motocross game claims to take you to the edge with gravity-defying jumps, trouser-splitting stunts, and more tricks than a hooker's phone book. But of more interest to the boys is the inclusion of former Miss Supercross, Leanne Tweeden, who, apart from having a really stupid name, straddles a bike and teaches the men a thing or two. Heaven knows what.
Next, a game especially conceived for the cold-hearted amongst you, Hitman 2 Silent Assassin. Hitman 2 now boasts first or third-person viewpoints, mid-mission save point, a new inventory system so you can carry items from mission to mission, and loads of cool new weapons like chloroform, poison darts, and stun guns. Hitman 2 will stick a cap in your ass this spring.
Have you ever wanted to be a jet fighter? Well, stop playing those silly schoolyard games and get your chops around the Xbox's latest monster, Gunmetal.
This stunning-looking game allows you to destroy almost everything on screen and use buttloads more firepower to do it. Players can walk, run, and jetpack around the busy environments and even herd animals into battle and watch the carnage. That is sick. Gunmetal will be available on March 14th.
Well, that's the end of this week's show, and always forget to check out our website at www.channel4.com/Thumb Bandits, where there's no insider gossip and certainly no witty banter on the forum.
But before you sod off and slide into unconsciousness, let me just say that next week we'll be looking at the Super Star Wars game on the GameCube, and it is fan-dabby-dozy.
Delicious. We'll also be looking at consoles that never hit the UK.
Plus, Alex is going to be talking to a chap who claims he's turning games into art. Sounds very interesting.
You lucky, lucky people.
See ya!
Legendary ice battle on planet Hoth.
I bumped a Wookiee once.
Don't do that! Stop it with the finger.
Go on, kill some mutants. They love it. That's all coming up on Thumb Bandits. Come on! Oh.
Welcome to Thumb Bandits and another gaming white-knuckle ride.
On tonight's show, we're saying Nanu Nanu to Dr. Spock with Star Wars Rogue Leader Rogue Squadron 2 on the GameCube.
We get our hands on some of the most gorgeous games machines on the planet.
We've got the latest news on Final Fantasy X.
And we're taking the piss out of piss artists. Well, they're just artists, actually.
But before all that, Ian carves up some white powder and prepares for his après-ski with Amped on the Xbox.
Thank God for computer games. Because of them, it means twats like me get to do really cool things without having to hang out with the wankers that usually do them. The snowboarding is a prime example. It looks so exciting and exhilarating, yet every boarder in the world is an arrogant idiot who can only say, dude. That's not an exaggeration, by the way. That's a fact. But Amped on the Xbox is perfect for the indoor sportsman. All the fun of the fair without the fear of the glue-sniffing teenager.
Pull twists in midair, jump over buildings and do other fun things. It's all here. But the Xbox manages to pull a few tricks of its own which put the other consoles to shame.
The first being the huge courses. The first couple start out small, but move on from there and you can go pretty much anywhere.
There is a huge amount of space to cover and explore, and eventually, as you climb the mountain, the tracks begin to link up. And while you're pulling one off behind a tree, check out the amazing view. The backgrounds on Amped are as detailed as you can get. You're also encouraged to impress the media. Photographers, filmmakers and agents are all out on the slopes watching for fresh young talent. Have a jostle in front of a camera and you could be signed up to an exclusive sponsorship deal, unlocking tracks in the process. Another trick exclusive to the Xbox is the inclusion of 200 songs on the soundtrack. Pick from 6 genres, such as punk and Peter Andre, and let the game be your DJ. However, if none of the tunes are to your liking, then do what I did and rip Frank Zappa's one-size-fits-all CD to the hard drive and have that blasting out.
My only major problem with this otherwise brilliant game is the lack of a really good racing mode. Sure, 4 players pretty cool, but I don't know 3 other people, so I kind of miss racing against the computer.
The lack of other competitors makes the game feel slightly slower than other boarding titles, but this difference is its selling point. It's a stunt sim, not a racer.
If the Xbox can keep releasing titles like Halo and Amped, then I think it won't be long until we're seeing the death of the PS2. That'll learn them.
Back in the old days, pirates only had one eye, one leg, and a pile of parrot poo in their shoulder to worry about.
Yeah, that's right, Alex. But now, in the 21st century, they've got a whole host of new headaches.
As recent anti-piracy thrust Operation Buccaneer has demonstrated, even the saltiest of high-tech rogues are being caught by the Jolly Rogers.
Due to a number of high-profile raids, many hackers have gone underground. But flying in the face of adversity, British software developers Introversions are releasing the world's first hacker sim, Uplink.
Uplink challenges hackers to crack into as many fake computer systems as possible. Hackers are given missions that are posted on the Uplink Corporation's database and range from altering bank accounts to changing social security information.
But if any would-be hackers are thinking of taking their skills to the real world, then be warned.
The FBI are putting the finishing touches to its Magic Lantern technology that can record your every online keystroke. So games like Uplink may be the last place for hackers to ply their trade.
This week, our review jury of 3 Good Men and True are looking at tennis titles. Will they do a Sampras and serve an ace, or will they be more like Henman? Shit.
Our umpires are Scott, the Whispering Games designer, Jackie, the Gobby Games fan, and Paul, who I think may be a ball boy.
Oh, fucking hell.
Let's begin.
First serve goes to Cosmic Smash on the Dreamcast. Not so much tennis, more psychedelic Arkanoid mixed with a bit of Breakout. Now, if that sounds as confusing as Greg Rosetsky's claim to be British, don't worry. It's a simple game with striking graphics where you have to smash balls against blocks to escape. Too simplistic? Time to be serious, dude. Is it in or is it out?
Would you say this game was unique, or does it remind you of anything else?
Oh, it reminds me of lots of things. Pong, for starters. A bit of virtua tennis in there. And it's a bit like, well, squash and pinball as well.
How does it play?
Well, it's a tried and tested gameplay genre. It's like Pong, like Arkanoid. So it's giving the developers like freedom to do what they want with the graphics. Looks really cool. I mean, they've gone for that retro, electro, Tron versus MTV look, which really, really works.
It's the kind of game for maybe your die-hard console fans only, who like to buy like every quirky thing that comes out, like Vib Ribbon or Rez, something like that.
Well, I've got Vib Ribbon and Rez. What are you saying?
Well, no, that's okay. The problem with this game is Vib Ribbon, as you know, is based on sort of innovative idea, and it works. Rez, great fun. This is Pong and nothing more. Pong with fancy graphics.
So you're still reeling from the tremendous Henman Sampras upset. Well, I know. I understand. But here's your chance to rewrite history and get over it with Tennis Master Series on the PC.
With full tournament mode, exhibition mode, and a LAN play option, your players sport the latest motion capture technology, and the little court details will make you reach for a Pims and lemonade. But was it convincing enough for our jury?
I didn't think I would like this game, Alex, but it turned out to be really good. The way it looks is enough to draw me in, to make me play it for longer. I mean, the way the guys move around the court is fantastic. The motion capture is so good, you can read their body language.
I thought I was going to hate it, but after playing for a while, I kind of got into it. I found the controls a bit clumsy though. Doubles made it a wee bit easier because the computer helps a bit with the running back and forward so you can concentrate on your hitting.
It's one for the tennis purists because all the details are there. It's nice. You've got nice sound and the ball bounces, sound of the wind, and it's a real sort of somber tennis commentators.
15, love. The final set of this metaphorical tennis match will be played by centre court. This PS2 title boasts 8 characters, 4 different court surfaces, as well as a mighty array of shots. You can select the length of a game and play in tournaments or single exhibition matches. With up to 4 human players involved in a doubles match, this can be a tense game, unless your partner is my mate Steve, who is rubbish. But does the lack of any real tennis stars make this a poor second to Virtua Tennis?
This comes nowhere near Virtua Tennis. It has set the standard, basically. It had the sort of realism and sort of subtlety of control, which this doesn't have at all.
And that's from Paul, who works in a game shop, so top advice there. Was this game any good?
I didn't enjoy it that much, Ian. I mean, I was lucky that's something extra you would expect from a PS2 game. I mean, things like the players suffer from the Scooby-Doo walk effect, with their feet slide around all over the court, which just spoils it for me.
Now, these aren't real tennis players either, are they?
They're not, no, it's a computer game, so...
No, I don't mean real tennis players as they've been captured and put in a tiny box. I mean people like Henman and all that, their names.
I've got you now. No, they look more like, extras from Mortal Kombat to me. They've got shorts with flames on and big jaws and hard hair.
It's easy to play, mostly down to the controls. They just seem to be much easier to get the hang of, and the reactions on screen are much faster than the PC game. But I didn't enjoy it as much. I didn't find it as satisfying.
Well, that's tennis, but the results are in, and it appears the umpires are about to strike back. In third place, it's Cosmic Smash, because...
it's quirky, but crap.
Second place goes to centre court, because...
it's a bit of a lane call, this one.
But this week's winner is Tennis Masters, and I say because...
it's the best of this lot, but it ain't the Masters.
So there you go, tennis. It's not a load of old balls.
Right, Final Fantasy is the Japanese role-playing series that's transported countless computer fanciers into the weird world of electronic obsession.
Possibly the most inaccurate title in history, the series has spawned 8 incarnations in the UK, as well as The Spirits Within, the misjudged but exceptionally animated film. And the good news is, number 10 is coming to the UK soon. The only thing that ties them all together is how they deal with honor, friendship, and saving the world. Number 10, for example, entertains itself with an enlightened dude attempting to save his homeland from something called sin. Very deep, very Japanese. And as far as the UK is concerned, very late. Final Fantasy X has been out in Japan for 8 months. So what's with the Western holdup? Well, the FF10 team was also working on the film and spent most of its time creating the incredible cutscenes of the game. The actual gameplay was allegedly farmed out to another company, and schedules suffered for it. Subsequently, the conversion for us poor PAL TV users has taken the big old backseat.
On the bright side, the US reviews are good, and Final Fantasy X is the very first PlayStation 2 game to reach the 2 million sales mark. How's that? Well, we'll just have to wait until we can get some review code to tell you. But what we can tell you is that FFX is due for release sometime in June. Fingers crossed. But if you can't wait, you can get yourself a copy of the demo bundled with Final Fantasy VI, which is due for re-release on the PlayStation 1 on the 1st of March.
If you love games and you live in the UK, you've had it pretty good. We all remember the Atari VCS, the interesting Sega Saturn, and of course Sony's superb PlayStation. All great machines and all released over here.
what you probably didn't know is that there was a host of even more exciting, often better games machines that didn't see the light of day on British shores. And these are a few of our favorites.
The time, 1987. The place, Japan. The console, the PC Engine. Despite going up against Nintendo and Sega, the PC Engine was made by unknowns in the video game world. NEC and quirky games publishers Hudson Soft. Being an 8-bit machine, it wasn't any more powerful than Sega or Nintendo's consoles, but it was incredibly fast and allowed for some amazing arcade-quality games.
The PC Engine's piece de resistance was these little tiny cards. Now, nothing too special here, but here's the clever bit. You could take them out of here and put them into here, the PC GT, which had the same spec as the home console and a color screen.
Imagine beautiful arcade-quality games in the palm of your hand nearly 10 years before the Game Boy Advance.
But as far as quirky and innovative machines went, it wasn't long before another was released in Japan, and this one proved to be a right headache for all those involved. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the Virtual Boy.
This 32-bit piece of goggle hardware was released in 1995, and the games that came with it were pseudo 3D. This 3D effect was achieved by showing a different image for each eye that the brain then put together. Although brilliant, the problem with the Virtual Boy was that any significant time spent playing with the device could lead to a splitting migraine. The VB was designed by Uber Games designer Gunpei Yokoi. He'd been at Nintendo for 30 years and had already become a legend for inventing the Game & Watch series, the Game Boy, Metroid, and teaching Shigeru Miyamoto a thing or two.
But the hardware was a phenomenal failure. Kids under 7 could severely damage their eyes. Nintendo barely licensed any third-party title releases. It was expensive, and the marketing behind it was lousy. It flopped. Gunpei became the scapegoat and left in disgrace just 2 years after the first VBs were sold.
However, as with all great magicians, he had a trick up his sleeve, the Wonder Swan. The Wonder Swan swanned, that's a pun, onto Japanese shelves in 1999 and has since become the second best-selling portable after the Game Boy. The console is the smallest handheld on the market. It can run on one battery for up to 40 hours, and it has a flippable screen. Wow! And if that leaves you salivating, beware, there's also a color version.
Unfortunately, Gunpei was killed in a motoring accident in 1997, 2 years before he would have seen the release of his handheld. So, as a mark of respect, we here at Thumb Bandits are honouring the Wonder Swan. We think it's time it migrated west, don't you? But don't let that depress you. Here's Alex with one great game that did make the trip across the pond.
As a general rule, I despise movie tie-ins. My least favorite titles are the pathetic attempts by games companies to cash in on the latest merchandising trend. Have you ever heard of integrity? How dare you inflict your inferior products on the changed purses of innocent children? Well, hold on to your lightsabers because the latest onslaught of Star Wars games is about to consume our consumerism.
And the first show-off in the starting block is the GameCube's Rogue Leader. You start out this space shooter controlling Luke Skywalker and end up in charge of Wedge Antilles. While Luke's off hanging with Jabba, Wedge and his gang are getting work done.
Everything starts out simple enough with an amazing introduction to the gameplay, but the learning curve is very high. Port of call number 1 is to destroy the Death Star in 3 easy steps.
First, take out the gun towers. Then get your thumb in a twist trying to target the TIE fighters. And finally, navigate your way through a claustrophobic trench, battling against further TIEs and Vader himself. This 3-pronged pattern is repeated across the remaining 10 stunning levels. I have never seen so much stuff on screen at once.
Well, it is a beautiful game, but it ain't perfect. Command of your ship is tough. Not only does it move at the slightest twitch of a finger, but there are buttons to control everything. From braking, to boosting, to rolling, to your targeting computer, to switching from first to third person perspective and back again, to regular firing, to ion cannon firing, to command of your troops.
Beautiful. Yes, this is a space shoot-'em-up that works more like a flight sim. Even the damn joystick is inverted, which means that if you push up, the little bastard on screen goes down. I understand that some people like that kind of thing. I do not, and would have appreciated an option therein. And even though the level design is absolutely fantastic, with interesting things to do and places to see, it's extremely irritating that if you happen to crash and burn just before you get to the very end of the last part of the level, you've got to do the whole damn 3-part thing all over again. That sucks.
Still, though they frustrate me, these little niggly things don't ruin Star Wars Rogue Leader. If anything, they hook me in, making me stay up until 3 o'clock in the morning, whittling away at the evil Empire's defenses until I crack them. The fact that your ship is actually affected by the gravity of passing space rocks, and that during one level, you've got to rope an AT-AT's legs so it falls over, makes it all worthwhile. Against all odds, LucasArts has actually redeemed themselves. Worth the price of admission.
If your idea of art is being stuck in a room with dodgy wiring, then you may find this look at the art of gaming enlightening. The Game Boy Advance may be this season's preferred handheld, but last year's top catwalk model was the Game Boy Color, proving he can still show his young protege a thing or two about style.
Lots of companies have desperately tried to associate themselves with fashion and art. In Japan, Nintendo have even released an embroidery cart that plugs into a special Game Boy sewing machine. It allows hardcore gamers to sew their own designs on their clothes. Cool, man. The Big N went even further when last summer it sponsored fashion designers to come up with clothes ideas inspired by the handheld. All very nice, but what are real artists doing with games?
Phantom Limb explores the hard-to-define territory between what is real and what is not. By using a series of cameras and projectors, it dislocates players' limbs from their own bodies, exchanging them with their challengers. Phantom Limb uses a mirror image of your opponent's moves to confuse your brain. More often than not, the winner is usually the fastest person to learn how to think backwards.
But when it comes to keeping art in touch with the street, look no further than Chris Evans.
This Christmas, Chris projected real-time gameplay of Pong onto the streets of Cardiff, which got some quite unexpected results. Initially projected outside a gallery for effect, Chris discovered that it instantly caught people's attention who wouldn't normally have noticed the exhibition and drew them in. But far from resting on his laurels, Chris is already on his way to completing his next piece, entitled We Will Destroy You. He's in the process of modifying an original 1979 Space Invaders machine that will then be set up in the corner of the chapter bar in Cardiff. Inside, he's hidden a secret camera that captures the contorted faces of players destroying the alien invaders. These images are then projected onto the wall of the pub in such a way that the gamers will appear to be trying to annihilate drinkers at the bar. Artists like these are utilising games and art to a great effect and in an entirely new way. The next time you see something like this, watch out. It just might be your turn for 15 minutes of fame.
Normally we end the show by saying,
Thanks for watching. Check out our website at www.channel4.com/thumbandits.
This is then followed by some hilarious ad-libbing. But I have a feeling that some of you have just joined us. So for those stragglers out there,
Where the bloody hell have you been? The pub shut over an hour ago. We've been here for the last half an hour playing computer games. And frankly, I may not be bothered to turn up next week. I forgot the words and ran off.
Please carry on.
No, please.
And actually, no, I'm not interested.
hey, happy?
That was great, thanks very much.
You fart monster.
Greasy hair. Take 2 consoles into the shower. Well, fantastic. You must be a games geek.
Don't worry, you're not alone. You're watching Thumb Bandits. On this week's show, the latest games are rated, reviewed, and rubbished.
We're mixing the beats with the bits with computer games and music.
And getting all misty-eyed with a look at some classic technology that revolutionised games playing.
But first, let's plug in for a quick fix of craziness with Munch's Odyssey.
You are a genius!
I always found there to be something lacking from the Oddworld series. Sure, I bought them and they looked great, but they were more eye candy to me than exciting and innovative games, and wound up gathering dust next to Space Channel 5 and Kiss Pinball. However, all is not lost. Munch's Odyssey, despite being the 3rd Oddworld game to be released, is officially the 2nd in the series. But don't worry about the maths. I'm not bothered by that nonsense in the slightest. I just want to know if this game is any good on the fat bastard of consoles, the Xbox. You can still control Abe, the grunt-loving Mudokon, desperate to hunt down eggs and save his race, but this time your main character is Munch. Both monsters have different skills and need to help each other to complete the game. Although Munch moves about on land in a wheelchair, he has fins and really comes into his own in water. On the other hand, Abe can create mind control balls that force the bad guys to do whatever you want, however fiendish.
There is something strangely satisfying about taking psychic control of some ugly sod and making him throw himself into a river. In fact, that reminds me of a crazy night I once had in Windsor. But I digress, sorry.
Munch is even weirder than Abe. In an horrific experiment that would make bunny-loving vivisectionist gun-down life-saving scientist, he's had an antenna attached to his head. This aerial allows Munch to take control of machinery and, after a fresh charge of zap, turns his head into a deadly weapon that any Glaswegian would be proud of. As soon as the game starts, you can tell the visuals are going to be fantastic. Once or twice, it took me a minute to realise the FMV had stopped and I was actually playing the game. Even the annoying shifts in camera angles can be excused simply because the game looks so good. Despite the Xbox controllers having been designed by a blind monkey with numb hands, it's easy enough to control both our heroes. With a simple press of a button, you can switch between the two, which becomes more and more important as the game progresses. The one massive problem with Munch's Odyssey is the repetitive gameplay. Too often it's a case of running to one place, getting something, running back, dropping it, going back again, getting something else, running back, dropping it, running back again, getting another thing, running back, dropping it, and so on. The challenges aren't really puzzles and therefore don't tax the player enough, and the teen rating on the case is a bit generous. Despite its flashy, mature looks, this is definitely a game for kids. But what the heck? I may be a man, but I've got a small boy trapped inside me who loves this kind of thing. Unfortunately, we can't find a way to remove him from my intestines, so until then, I'll have to play it for him.
Free? What are you doing? Shh! Be nice.
Once upon a time, you sat in your bedroom and decided to write yourself a computer game. After toiling away for, 3 weeks or something, you'd have finished and have a classic game on your hands.
But before the glue and the envelope to your publishers had dried, you remembered, oh, Zazish, I forgot to put music on my masterpiece. So it was back to the Spectrum to compose a little ditty, and then quick, out to catch the last post. But not anymore. Games music has hit the big time.
Since the late 90s, there have been a whole host of music stars linked to games. Everyone from the Wu-Tang Clan to Robbie Williams. And that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Getting the right music for a game is now incredibly important, and it's no surprise that there's a whole host of musical artists who are willing to put their art on the line.
It's important that when you're compiling a soundtrack for a game, that the music has to be in line with the culture of the game. It has to really draw the player into that whole world. You hear stories in the industry of what happened with FIDA on Gran Turismo. The game helped them to break into the Japanese territory. They started touring over there. They built up quite a big fan base.
But it was a little band called Orbital and a host of top DJs that set the trend and almost single-handedly made the PlayStation cool with their soundtrack to Wipeout. Of course, the game's music was a huge success. We met up with Orbital, who told us their secret.
We came up with a track called Petrol, but we was like trying to get all these sounds, like diesel-y sort of sounds and
nasty sort of analog synth sounds, sampling them all up, made a sort of library of sounds, if you like. And then did it a bit like sort of the old pianist or Wurlitzer player in front of the silent movie. Just watched the video and sort of found a sort of tempo that seemed to fit and just sort of started playing with these sounds over the top. If you write music for a film, you might write for a scene that's 1.5 minutes long. But if you're doing it for a game, well, if someone's stuck on that part of the game, you're writing it for 4 hours, potentially. So you've got to try and sum up the sort of mood of the game. But it's got to sort of sum it up in one sort of chunk, one hit. You get that sort of kick out of thinking, God, all these people that wouldn't listen to us normally are now sort of forced to listen to us if they want to play this game.
But with quids in the bank, Orbital still aren't happy.
I wish we got involved in Grand Theft Auto.
Grand Theft Auto. I love the way you can change channels now, and I sort of spin around, sort of listening to Flashback FM. The sort of the weird sort of It's like an amalgamation of everything you remember from middle-of-the-road 80s rock. And it's just, I just find it works with the game really well. But I'd love to have had, like, you know, an Orbital channel.
But unlike old pros Orbital, Virtual Unknown's the FC All-Stars are hoping for their first kick up the charts with the help of David Beckham.
For a new band, it's just a great thing to get the exposure, it really is. It hasn't been done before, and hopefully it'll help the game as well, because the song will become a hit at the same time as the game's being launched. I think that a lot of football games don't really have amazingly passionate songs, they have just like the latest hit in the charts or a dance track, whereas this song is specifically a passionate football song. And hopefully linked in with the game, and when players score and the song comes on, it's just going to work perfectly, I think.
And with the World Cup coming up, Football is Life might be the first track written for a game to top the music chart.
Some jerk-off just pulled a piece from my ass, so I popped a cap in his goddamn mofo. Ho! We'd all like to be hard-as-nails gangsters, pulling out some huge tools and threatening people's lives just to see the fear in their eyes.
And what better way, Iain, than to exercise those demons than a good old-fashioned shoot 'em up? Tonight, we're looking at the long-gone dead and Gunfighter, the soon-to-be-dead in Police 24/7, and the undead in Resident Evil Survivor 2. First up, partner, is Gunfighter, the Legend of Jesse James on the PlayStation 1.
With 5 levels, 18 different enemies, mini-games, 4 bonus levels of sharpshooting mayhem, and the expected big bosses, this is as predictable as a Clint Eastwood catchphrase. But is Gunfighter a bullseye or bullshit?
I'm afraid the game design was really linear, predictable. You walk into a room, you shoot a bad guy, you walk into another room, you shoot a different bad guy, and so on. Didn't like it at all. It's like a poor cousin to Time Crisis.
I kind of felt like I'd played this game before, maybe when I was 15 or something, quite a while ago.
Is there anything good about it at all?
I suppose just some nice wallpaper in the saloon, but that's about it.
The game was quite difficult.
I just noticed Paul's grown a beard.
Bad boys, what you gonna do? Well, I recommend sliding your way into a crisp blue uniform and packing some serious firepower. The big deal about this point-and-fire romp is its USB motion sensor technology, which has been working thighs in arcades across the land. You can't just sit passively through this one. No, if a bullet is approaching, please duck out of the way. But does it hit the target, or is it shooting blanks?
There's a much greater level of interaction with your own side in the game, because you've got officers moving about around you, you can use them to cover and dodge, and it's a lot of fun, and you can shoot them if you're really nasty. You don't really need quick reactions for this game, because the bullets come at you slowly, but there's a good reason, because if you use a digital camera, you can dodge out the way of the camera, and that does your dodging movements for you in the game. It's all very clever.
The opponents are quite intelligent as well, a bit more intelligent than a lot of other shooter games I've played. They hide.
It reminded me of watching one of those reality TV cop shows. Everything from the camera angles to the voiceovers to the fact that if you shoot a civilian, you see it in the press the next day. It's more of a shooting sim than shoot 'em up.
Boo! I'm only joking. Next, it's Resident Evil Survivor 2 Code Veronica.
Set in the same world as Code Veronica X, but with a first-person perspective, you hotshots and attempt to blast your way past mutant freaks like zombies, the Nemesis, and Bandersnatch. There are 2 modes. In arcade mode, the aim is to escape from Rockfort Island, whereas in dungeon mode, the idea is just to defeat wave after wave of the undead. And if you need a helping hand, you can opt for the partner feature.
Was this game as evil as you'd hoped?
It wasn't evil at all. I mean, with a name like Resident Evil, you'd expect to be scared, but I wasn't scared at all. I've been more scared than Bob the Builder recently.
In this game, you get to choose where you want to go, which is quite nice. You're even given a map so that you can choose which door you want to go in and out of. I've played a few of the Resident Evil games, and I like the fact that you've got to keep an eye on your ammunition so you don't run out of bullets. But with this game, you've got unlimited ammo, not much of a challenge.
It's an uneasy mix of your first-person shooter and your arcade shooter. So it doesn't really have the fast action of, say, Time Crisis, and you don't have the control in like GoldenEye or Perfect Dark. It loses out on both counts.
Now, one of the problems with the Resident Evil games is the boring doors. Open the door, 20 minutes later you get through the other side. What's it like here? Tell them.
Yeah, lots of doors, sometimes even 2 doors. That's twice as boring.
Well, we've looked at the games and the decisions are in. They're not made by me, they're made by these 3. I'm a poet and didn't realise I could do it. This week's 3rd place is Gunfighter because...
It's very dated.
In second place, it's Resident Evil Survivor 2, because...
It's too easy and the load times break gameplay.
And this week's winner is Police 24/7, because...
It's sexy.
That's the best we could do, sorry. Mobile gaming on the hoof has often been equated with having a gaming snack. It's what you do to fill a bit of dead time. Our appetites were first whetted in 1976 when Mattel brought out this Auto Race, the world's first handheld electronic games machine. It was a smash. Mattel followed up its success with 2 more LED titles, Space Alert, an early Space Invaders game, and Football. This was the early 80s, the dawn of the electronic entertainment age, and we wanted our fill.
But that was just the entree, the mini chicken Kievs, the vol au vents. We were ready for the main course, and in 1980 it came in the shape of Game & Watch. Thank you. Yes, believe it or not, this is mighty Nintendo's humble beginnings in the video game industry. Game & Watch was nothing more than a win-lose test of reactions, but we went mentalist over them. And it was on these credit card-sized slabs of fun that Nintendo pushed its mascots, Mario and Donkey Kong. Nintendo released 59 machines between 1980 and 1991 and continually tinkered with the design. There were single screen, split screen, widescreen, and even 2-player versions.
Ultimately, the Game & Watch was doomed. It was expensive to make, and there were loads of cheap copies flooding the market. Plus, Nintendo was facing stiff competition from home consoles that had much better graphics. And also, they were losing money on every Game & Watch they sold. Something had to be done, and fast.
Let's do it.
And so, the Game Boy was born.
The Game Boy was an instant success, due in small part to the appearance of an addictive little Russian game called Tetris, but mainly because no one had ever seen games of such quality and detail on a portable machine. With Game Boys selling by the shed-load, in 1989 you'd have had the balls the size of buffaloes to launch a new handheld. Cue Atari.
The Lynx was actually supposed to be the Pavlova of portables. It was technologically superior with its 4,096 colors, and it also catered to all tastes. Even Southpaws could have a go because you could flip the screen around. Clever. It could also be linked up for 8-way gaming action, but the software support was lousy, and it went through 6 AA batteries in 5 hours, and was bigger than a brick. Despite being the superior machine, the bargain basement bin beckoned the Lynx, and it disappeared without a trace.
14 years on, and in various guises, the Game Boy has sold over 100 million consoles and over 400 million games worldwide. That's why we say it's the foie gras, the filet mignon, the lobster thermidor of handheld consoles. Cheers!
What makes your average Joe follow blindly the insane ravings of an obvious lunatic? Is it their charisma, or is it the fact that they just want to be loved and they don't care by who? Maybe it's the fear. Who knows, but I want to find out, so I've donned my Machiavellian gloves and pulled up my warmongering trousers to enter the latest PlayStation 2 combat strategy game, Kessen 2.
Let the battle begin!
When I saw the first movies of the original Kessen, I was flabbergasted. They were gorgeous. But when it was finally released, I picked it up, played it for about 5 minutes, and tossed it aside. Well, Kessen 2 looks very much like the first one. This time, however, we're not in feudal Japan, but in Three Kingdoms era China, holding on for dear life to the tailcoats of the flailing Han dynasty. Some guy named Cao Cao has decided he'd like to be king of the hill for a while, and reigning power dude Liu Bei isn't having any of it. A big deal has been made in the press over the agent technology, which allows up to 500 soldiers on screen at any one time. Yes, it looks nice, but let's talk a little bit about gameplay. Much of the pedantic weighing up of political allies, weather changes, and logistical elements has been reduced to between-battle, choose-your-own-adventure-like cutscenes, where you're offered 3 tactical options, and you get to decide between them. So, do you want to train your troops, give some money for land development, or use some magic to bomb the frick out of the other side? Ooh, magic! Yes, there is a Final Fantasy element to this combat strategy game. Throwing in the fantastical is, after all, what these interactive entertainments are all about, aren't they? Yes. Well, hail hail KOEI for adding something extra to make Kessen 2 that little bit more interesting. But not by much. Magicians now adorn your side in battle, and each has a number of special elemental power-ups that shower wrath down upon the enemy.
Basically, Kessen 2 is like one of those irritating interactive movies where you occasionally get your say in the proceedings, but more often than not, you're just at the whim of some higher electronic power.
Take a lot more than that to stop Xiao Yu.
You can prepare yourselves for the launch of Kessen 2 on the PlayStation 2 later on in the year.
Now, if you're anything like me, you'll treat gaming very, very seriously indeed. I know all about you. I've looked at the forum. I know you're more than happy to spend twice the amount of cash on an imported console months before it hits our shores. You'll spend hours trawling websites looking for cuddly parappa toys, and you'll spend days downloading games and music from the net. But some people are even more fanatical than us. We spoke to Tony Ryder, rare games importer and collector extraordinaire, about obtaining the unobtainables.
The most desirable games definitely tend to come from Japan, especially from companies like Konami, Treasure and Capcom. Anything connected to them companies tends to be very collectible. A lot of them games just get released in Japan only. The games on the PC Engine that tend to be really collectible are things like Castlevania. That tends to go for around £100 retail. Splatterhouse, I personally don't think looks that dated now, even considering it's 12, 13 years old. All the Gunhead series are very collectible. Some other really interesting things on that machine is the Caravan titles. They were released in Japan for Japanese trade shows only. This is really, really rare. And the interesting thing about these games, there was 4 or 5 in the series, is they only actually last for 2 minutes, which works out very expensive. Something like £2.80 per second per gameplay. I think this is the only one we've ever had in 12, 13 odd years.
But what does Tony think will be valuable in the future?
I think the Sega Dreamcast, again, definitely the Japanese games might be something to look out for the future. Now that the Sega Dreamcast is discontinued, I think 2 or 3 years down the line, again, you might find a lot of the shoot-em-ups on that machine are going to be possibly worth some money. The Biohazard 5th anniversary metal suitcase, this is a real metal suitcase, is a prime example of the stuff you get from Japan. You just don't get this kind of thing in Europe. Certainly the most expensive game for the collectors are the Neo Geo home cartridges, no doubt about it. And the Metal Slug easy sells for £1,000. In fact, I think one went on eBay a few months ago for £1,200. And the Kasumi Encounter American version, if that ever does come up, you'll be looking at nearly £2,000 for that. There's only supposed to be 3 of them in the world.
Man, I think I sold that cartridge to Lionel Richie at a car boot sale for 25 pence. Oh! But if you do have a copy of US Kazuna Encounter, then please let Tony know. It's the only thing that will restore dryness to his mouth and stop that rather scary tick he's got.
Go on, sod off! There's no hilarious comedy bit tacked onto the end of this week's show.
Nope, we're spent. Besides, it takes a lot out of ourselves to come up with such fantastic entertainment every single week.
That's very true, Alex. But one thing we can do for you is give you the chance to win a PS2 and a copy of Metal Gear Solid 2. Simply call 0900 10 240 and answer a simple question. But the lines are only open for 24 hours!
Well, in the meantime, you can also check out our website at www.channel4.com/Thumb Bandits. You're buying, boy.
Fucking bastards.
So, oh God, sorry.
Because you could flip the screen around. Clever. Oh, little tie boy.
Cut.
Right, we're not doing that again.
I can't work in these conditions.
Hey, and welcome to another sensational serving of Thumb Bandits.
Oh, my nuts. If you love gore, girls and gratuitous violence, you've come to the right place, because for this, the last show, we've lined up some of the sickest mothers this side of your sofa. Oh man, it looks wicked. We can't believe it either. But before all that, here's the news.
Pikmin Mania has taken over the planet. The game is currently selling 300,000 copies a week, and cashing in on the trend, garden lovers S&G Flowers of America have developed a Pikmin plant. They believe their 5-petaled flower with a yellow center resembles the plant-like characters in the game. Ka-ching! Also going Pikmin loopy are hippie strum-alongers Strawberry Flower with this, their Pikmin-inspired tune, I No Uta, which has gone to #2 in the Japanese hit parade.
The title translates as Song of Love, although we think a more appropriate interpretation would be Fey Limp Wristed Guff.
Now think Blade Runner, RoboCop, and Westworld. Robots that help out around the house, perform sexual favors, and take out criminals have always been a popular feature in science fiction.
But if you ever want to see the robots of your dreams in real life, there's only one place to go. Robodex.
Held on the 28th of March in Japan, Robodex 2002 is the world's biggest gathering of android and cyber pet technology. One of our faves is the Papi Row robot, which has been designed for security, surveillance, companionship and general housework. But if you are thinking about buying one, remember it's about as agile as a Dalek, so just make sure you live in a bungalow.
But the newest bot on the block is the SDR3X. What it lacks in personality, it sure makes up for good looks. And if you don't want to spend thousands, then look away now.
SDR3X is the next leap forward in home robot technology from the boffins that brought you Aibo. It can dance to disco, play football, and even take the mick out of Suggs' madness. Cool.
Lastly, no one under 21 will remember Tron, but it was one of the first movies to use computer-generated effects.
This year, the cult classic is celebrating its 20th birthday with a digitally enhanced re-release, and it's still looking mighty fine. However, if you want a copy, it won't be available in the shops. You'll have to track it down online.
And Tron 2.0, the sequel to the movie, will be coming out later next year.
Next, it's gone down a storm in Japan, and we've got our filthy hands on it. What is it? It's our first review. The Japanese are mental. Where else could you buy a fab t-shirt covered in cool Jap text, only to discover after being laughed at for an entire day that it's really an advert for sanitary products? This actually happened to me, and you can imagine how hilarious I found it.
More proof, if more proof is needed, that the Japanese are as bonkers as a bag of baboons comes in the form of Pikmin for the GameCube.
The game is about a space dude whose ship has crash-landed on a strange planet. He's discovered plant things that have evolved into an elementary workforce that help restore his broken craft.
Despite being odd, it's pretty simple. Lead the Pikmin to knock down walls and retrieve equipment. You discover pieces of your craft by solving puzzles that aren't too taxing. Also, controlling the little fellas is dead easy. You can separate them into coloured groups and order them to do different things. However, they're quite stupid and will get stuck in boxes or drown if you don't keep an eye on them. But their screams of death are so sweet that it's worth chucking a few in the river now and then just to hear it.
You've also got the added complication of time, because you, like me in real life, are afraid of the dark.
Come sundown, you want out of there. Who knows what weirdness lurks on an alien planet in a strange star system after lights out. But with the lights on, you soon see a whole array of monsters that the Pikmin provide sustenance for, like the ferocious giant hedgehogs.
Pikmin looks, sounds and kind of plays a bit like Zelda, but the colours are much brighter and more intense than anything you've seen before.
However, unlike other puzzle games which have literally hundreds of secrets, Pikmin is very straightforward.
But it doesn't have that special something that other Miyamoto creations do. There's not a lot of oomph. This one will not be a classic.
It won't be for everyone, and we don't know how many more of these short games we can take being released on the GameCube.
But while titles like Luigi's Mansion and Pikmin may prove that this tiny purple box is the best next-gen console around, I'm starting to want a little bit more for my money. We've all ummed and ahed in the game shop about what to spend our 40 quid on. Sometimes we go home with a classic like Devil May Cry, sometimes we get a massive piece of shit like Westlife Phanomania. But don't panic, your dithering days are over. Our jury's returned one more time to give you their verdict on 3 more titles that are trying to prise open your wallet.
Tonight's free-thinking reviewers are Scott, son of Emperor Ming and collector of muscles; Jackie, the vicious-tongued harpy and would-be dictator; and Paul, who works in a game shop and is really starting to get on my tits.
Do you enjoy kicking scantily clad ladies over very high walls? If you do, you're sick, but you might enjoy Dead or Alive 3 on the Xbox.
There's the usual mix of punches, throws and peanut smugglers, but this time the music is supplied by the oldest band in the world, Aerosmith. Now, which of our dudes looks a little bit like a lady?
Paul, you own buttocks. Who's this game for?
This game is for horny wee boys who like watching a lot of breasts, a lot of panties, that kind of thing.
So, you?
I'm not a massive fan of beat-em-ups. I do enjoy it now and again, and this, I have to say, looks stunning. So initially you're just, blown away by the graphics. They look fantastic. I think it's the kind of game that if you've got mates round and you just fancy a kind of
quick battle at something, then this is the game for you. And if you like this kind of thing, then you'll probably love it. It's just not for me.
How different is this from Dead or Alive 1 and Dead or Alive 2?
It's not that much different. I mean, it's nicer, it's smoother, but they've just gone for the same look.
If the I Heart Whatevers haven't got you nostalgic enough, then guess what? Computer games are getting in on the act. And the worst culprit of them all is Nintendo with its Super Smash Bros. Series.
This is the GameCube's offering of the multiplayer, multi-game character Twatathon, and it offers up to 64-player matches, a single-player scrolling adventure, loads of new and exciting things to hit your opponent over the head with, and reminders of electronic friends past. Yes, you did hear me correctly, 64-player matches. This is the computer game equivalent of a gangbang.
This is one that you said your mates should come round and everybody should play. How does it compare to other Nintendo party games?
This is better than, say, Mario Party, just because it's a faster game, it's a lot easier to get into, and I mean, it's really always fun to beat up your mates.
What about compared to the previous Super Smash Bros.? Is this one an update or just a sequel?
I would say that's only let down. For me, there just wasn't enough new to this game. There's a little adventure mode where you can sort of fight your way through in a platform style, but just not enough new stuff apart from fancy graphics and sound.
Is this classic Nintendo?
Absolute classic Nintendo, yeah. You've got all your characters, you've even got all your obscure characters in the hidden extra modes and challenges that you'll find. Classic Nintendo tunes, it's really going to keep your old school Nintendo fans happy.
Tell me about the adventure mode.
And this is cool. I mean, it's a beat 'em up, but you get to run around in a Mario-style environment. It's a lot slower paced than the beat 'em up, so you get to experiment with the characters, the weapons, the attacks, the power-ups. It's great.
And lastly, we look at Shadow Man 2 for the PS2.
Once again, you play Mike Leroy, fighting the naughty Grigori who promised to unleash an unholy terror on the planet. Switching between realms as often as you like, this sequel also boasts over 30 hours of gameplay, 6 massive game locations and ambidextrous controls, so even local people can play. But will our circus freaks be impressed?
Who's going to like this game?
I think this is obviously aimed at fans of the first game. It's kind of dark kind of adventure, like, say, like Soul Reaver or something like that.
Jackie, I was wondering, as a Shadow, did the controls do the game justice?
The controls are the most annoying thing about this game. You use both analog sticks to control your movement left and right and forward and back, and also the camera angles, so it's not particularly intuitive.
The graphics are awesome. The game engine does a great job of drawing some great stuff. Very detailed, and the main character is the best I've seen yet. Absolutely fantastic.
Well, the jury have conferred and the results are in for this week, the final episode of Thumb Bandits this series. In third place, it's Dead or Alive 3, because...
It's more TNA than DOA.
Excellent. In second place this week, it's Shadow Man 2, The Second Coming, I say, because...
It's a shadow of its former self.
Prick. But this week's winner, in first place, it's none other than Super Smash Bros. Melee, because...
It's super smashing great.
Absolutely. What?
Eh?
It's super smashing great.
Yeah.
Oh, that's piss poor. Elliot, is that the helpline for totally fucked off gamers? Yeah, I've got a problem with my boiler. You see, what's happened...
Iain, come on, stop pissing around. We've got to finish up the show.
Yeah, I'm going to try and sort Alan's killed personal loan after this, so just give us a second.
Here's what's coming up.
Yeah, it's 8 inches.
But before all that...
Yeah, I don't want to take off Lara Croft's T-shirt. I want to know how to convert my diesel engine so it works for the catalytic converter, you silly cow.
We look at the lengths PR companies will go to sell you stuff.
Yeah, I'll hold.
This event is hoping to draw attention to Acclaim's brand new wrestling title, and it's costing an absolute fortune. But promotional stunts in the games industry have had much more humble and sometimes more controversial beginnings.
Well, the mid-90s in particular was particularly nuts as regards games promotion, because everybody really wanted to set out to shock consumers and to shock the mainstream as much as possible. Resident Evil, Command & Conquer Red Alert, Screamer, Screamer 2. All of those games went out there and went straight into your face to promote themselves. The main campaign that springs to mind when you think of shock tactics is Grand Theft Auto, but it ended up all over the tabloid newspapers. Questions were asked about it in Parliament, simply because they staged this fantastic campaign which basically alleged that it was sick filth that needed to be banned.
I think that if you were to have a front page on The Sun or The Mail or The Mirror saying this vile computer game should be banned, sales would immediately go through the roof. It's the same now, it's the same as it was 5 years ago. A good shock horror story does wonders to create business.
You're gonna lick my what?
And what about today? Let's find out what goes into a stunt like this.
We're just about to have a planning meeting for Legends of Wrestling. We're going to tell everyone what the game's all about, what we want to try and achieve with the PR for the game. Then we're going to knock around a few ideas of how we're going to launch it. There's a wrestling event that's taking place. We wanted the game to appeal to as wide an audience as possible, and we came up with the idea of promoting it in an established wrestling event. So we had to come up with ideas that would attract all sorts of people. The older gamers love all the action and the sexier side of the wrestling too. The kids love the big arena and the huge wrestlers. We came up with the idea for a Hulk Hogan lookalike who signed autographs for the fans. And we got Nikita to do a photo shoot for the News of the World.
Good. 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 Okay, just one sec, we'll just have a look at these.
I mean, I think it's brilliant. It's a good campaign. I think we're definitely going to generate the talkability of the run-up to the launch. I think the launch is going to be powerful. I think that weekend you're not going to be able to avoid Legends of Wrestling. So. But at the end of the day, it was all about having fun. It took us months to organise all these stunts, but the end results were pretty amazing. It's really great when all the hard work comes together. But now, we're all off to prepare for the next launch.
Games reviews are a funny old thing. I mean, what's one man's meat is another man's, you know.
Yes, I do. And more than one person in Gamesland has got a little bit uptight about some of our reviews.
Well, sod off, I say. No one tells me what games to like. For solid snake's sake, we fought wars against this kind of thing.
So, for you more liberal-minded people out there, here are our favourite games from the series.
For most of its life, the PlayStation 2 has been a massive disappointment. None of the titles seem to deliver that next-gen feeling we'd expected. Then suddenly, Ico appeared. A beautiful, quiet little game which has you leading a princess by the hand to safety. With staggering graphics and perplexing puzzles, this game is simple and pretty much perfect. Medal of Honor Allied Assault on the PC, however, involves shooting Nazis in the face and leading a band of men to victory against the Germans. The game succeeds in creating a really tense atmosphere.
Perfect for people like me, too scared to join the real army.
But for me, out of the stinkers, only two shone. The best way to enjoy Parappa the Rapper 2 is to get blasted, sit down and soak up the experience while chilling out to the modern-day equivalent of Simon Says. GTA 3 was my second favorite, and any game where you get to hit grannies over the head with a baseball bat, take PCP, and drive hoes around is definitely worth the peak.
But without a doubt, the odds-on neck-and-neck favourites of the series are Metal Gear Solid 2
and Halo.
Now, I never really bought into the whole Metal Gear Solid thing first time round. It just didn't do it for me. Imagine my surprise when I played its sequel, Metal Gear Solid 2, and found it to be one of the best games ever. And I mean ever. The guards you have to hide from look frighteningly real, and it is a genuinely terrifying moment when you hide in a locker to escape getting busted. The thing this game has that's lacking in a lot of others is an interesting story. Honestly, it's dead good. It's on a par with Brad Pitt being a figment of that bloke's imagination in Fight Club. It also comes complete with a wonderfully underplayed soundtrack that makes you feel like you're taking part in a film. Superb.
And for me, the best damn game of the series has to be Halo. Imagine levels that take 2.5 hours to fight through. Take a moment and think about sparklingly smooth cooperative play. Imagine environments that put the real world to shame. This game rocks, and it's not just because you get to kill things. It lives up to the hype, so play it and understand. Become one of us. It may be the only title worth buying Microsoft's big hunk of nuts and bolts for, but hey, I think it's worth it. It really, really is.
So here's hoping you've paid attention.
Crack the piggy bank and take our advice, because these are the games to be proud of.
Well, the time has nearly run out on the Thumb Bandits clock, but before we finish once and for all, let's have one final look at the game's radar and see what'll be here by the end of the year.
Combining a deep storyline and a serious message, Duality is set in the not-too-distant future with fast gameplay and stimulating graphics. Like The Matrix, it exists in two spheres. There's a reality and a cyber reality, where separate entities preside. Ooh, got it? Me either.
For those of you with murky memories of an Amiga past, you should be well up to speed with Speedball. In Speedball Arena, the most exciting thing to look forward to will be the promised network and online matches. Here, individuals can hook up to demonstrate their virtuosity on the park against a team comprising of gamers from around the world.
The fifth part of a long-running series is always crap. If you don't believe me, check out Police Academy 5, Assignment Miami Beach. But Turok Evolution looks set to break that pattern. Set in 1886, you play Tal Set, sucked into Lost Lands after a bit of a punch-up with uber-enemy Captain Bruckner. Boasting an entirely new games engine built specifically for the next-generation console, there are also 32 different monsters, flying sequences, and some hardcore new weapons, including gravity disruptor beams and variable payload cruise missiles. Ooh. Look out for Turok Evolution when it's released this summer. And with that, it's time to wrap up the series. But we've enjoyed playing with all the free games, gadgets, and gizmos on your behalf.
Right now, we've got to sidle off and check ourselves into a gaming clinic, because we've gone mad.
We may be gone, but we're certainly not forgotten. You can check out all the up-to-the-minute news, reviews, and schmooze down at our website, www.channel4.com/Thumb Bandits.
But until we return, we've got one last thing to say to you.
We'll be back.
Fuck me!
When the mates come round, get it out.
Okay.
I'm on the telly. Get off. I'm on it again. I'm on it again. This is me.
It's like fucking Daisy Donovan all over again. Shut up now.
Now, we've had these in the arcade since pole position and they've been a lot of fun, but not really the best practice for putting on your L plates and learning how to drive. But never fear, the British School of Motoring has got a car sim for its more nervous drivers.
Get out of the way, Squares.
That's what lights are for, they're to stop you.
Look at them, they're still back there now. I'm nearly home. Obviously, this is a proper inside of a car. It's a Vauxhall, I can see that. You've got your speedometer, it's a proper steering wheel. But how realistic is the driving experience?
It's as close as you can get.
The graphics on this are a little bit pony, aren't they? Do people come in and complain about that at all?
Not really, no. At the end of the day, it's not the graphics just now that kind of make the difference, it's the actual driving abilities of the simulator. Each individual simulator costs approximately about £37,000.
Shut up, does it, man? 30s? Hey, I crashed deliberately. Turn that off for a second. Who sold this to you?
I don't know the name of the company, but it's French. Simulator.
It's the French simulator, of course it's a French simulator. See you, coppers. Hang on a second. Here we go. Stunts, stunts.
You might want to change gear.
Oh yeah, what gear was I in? I was in second. Been messing around in here, but we've got to say, of course, driving is serious. Don't mess around in cars, because people get killed, don't they, Derek?
They do get killed.
How many people get killed a year, do you know?
Too many.
Too many, that's a good answer. Drive carefully, don't fanny about on the roads.
Of course, you don't have to invest a fortune and build a spare room in your house to play an accurate simulator. Microsoft's Train Sim allows you to drive 9 trains across 6 historic rail routes. And yes, you are still allowed to play with flight simulators.
But sometimes it's not quite the same playing in your front room on that portable black and white telly. Sometimes you've just got to try out a purpose-built sim. This £750,000 shipping simulator at Glasgow's Knuckle College puts you on the bridge of some of the biggest ships in the world and allows you to dock them into the trickiest ports. And it comes with its own salty sea dog instructor.
Put your helm 10 degrees to port. We train ship's officers right from the start of their training right through to ship captains.
Have you ever had anybody get seasick?
Oh yes, 2 or 3 people who have been in here when we've been on a fishing trawler and it starts to rock and roll.
Oh dear, oh my goodness, we are going to run into something.
The ship's got aground. I don't think you're ever going to make this captain's job.
Oh, John, I thought I was really good there for a second.
No.
As a sim, it's swell, but I can't really see the games buying public fishing into their pockets to pull money out for a boat driving game. But if you want that simulated experience at home, there are plenty of sims for planes, trains, and automobiles. Or, of course, you could write to your MP and demand they bring back the Krypton factor.
Now, I don't want to make a whole chunk of you feel old, but think on this. There are a generation of people out there watching this show who have never heard of a Sega Saturn. Now, these are the same people who don't know that Peter the Goat Boy's catchphrase from Heidi was "Hoppla, hoppla."
But anyway, it was playing a Saturn that my life changed, and I caught my first glimpse of Wipeout. But even on this waste of technology, it was amazing.
Now, nothing much has changed in the world of Wipeout. The games have got faster, more aggressive, and just better. But imagine Wipeout on your PS2. Go on, imagine it. You don't need to now, it's here. It's called Wipeout Fusion, and you know how you just imagined it? Well, it's a little bit better than that.
I say a little better because I guess I was kind of disappointed when I first played it. The graphics weren't quite as smooth as I'd hoped, but once I was firing around the track in my wee Physar pod, I remembered just how bloody exciting these games are.
They've always been fast, but Fusion seems to take the piss. And to be honest, all we really want are more tracks. The game's never going to change that much, and that's why we like it. And this baby has got 45 new tracks, some of them huge. It's heaven. Do I sound like I'm slightly biased? I'm sorry, but it gets worse.
Jump pads, triggers to raise bridges, vertical air jumps and 180-degree flips. I don't even know what most of those things are, but I do know they sound wicked.
And finally, a game on the PS2 with seemingly intelligent rivals. There's no Gran Turismo-style hugging of that bend no matter what. These fellas react. They pull back just to blast you, and they seem to remember when you upset them. Now that is a little bit weird.
The design team have followed the How to Make a Sequel handbook to the letter. More competitors, enhanced weaponry, more playing modes, it's all there.
But it's all there, and it's done in style and with a lot more care than most. And of course the music is, I don't know, pumping? Is that the word? It's certainly not hardcore, I know that much. And it's definitely not junglist, so that's a relief. Now, supposing you're not a fan of Wipeout games, you're thinking, is there anything new in Fusion that will appeal to me? Well, no, you idiots. You've not listened to a word I've said. It's more of the same. If you don't like Wipeout, go and cut your hands off and stop pretending to be a gamer. We don't want your sort round here. You're not welcome.
Wipeout Fusion was due to be released in December, but has now been delayed till February. Boo!
It's News Desk time, where we bring you tiny little snippets of computer game nourishment from around the globe. Masticate with us, it means chew. Alex.
Thanks, Ian. First tonight, reverberations from the September 11th tragedy still continue to be felt within the computer games industry.
Structure under attack. Unit lost.
The publicity for Joe Wood's World War III Black Gold had to be toned down. And more severely, a whole scene featuring the Twin Towers in New York has been totally cut from Konami's Metal Gear Solid 2. Fans will be pleased to hear that the game is still on track for release in February. But a big question mark hangs over Sega's Propeller Arena. Just how to market a flight game with skyscrapers in it is causing all sorts of sleepless nights. Oh dear.
In a bizarre twist, the US Army had to provide funding and technical backing for 2 new games. They've been liaising with the video game industry through the Institute of Creative Technology and have developed new virtual reality devices and simulators to train their soldiers.
The shady-sounding Army-funded Institute of Creative Technologies say they'll develop 2 combat video games, provisionally called C-Force and CS-12, to be released over the next 2 years, with tactical and financial backing from the Army.
Now, we're not entirely sure of the long-term strategic benefits of releasing software designed to train military personnel, but C-Force comes out on next-gen consoles and CS-12 will be out on the PC. Just don't get too good at it because they can actually call you up to join the army, and you could die. Coming up next, think for you PC games types. It's a chart rundown of the biggest-selling PC games of 2001. Coming in at number 5...
Commandos 2 Men of Courage is set during World War II and involves elite commandos heading deep into enemy territory. The game incorporates loads of new features, including a 3D engine that enables indoor and outdoor environments. No corner is out of reach, but enemy soldiers are smarter too and can smell your every move.
Coming in at number 4, Red Faction. This game is having a last-minute surge into the top 5 PC games of 2001. It's currently sitting in at number 4 in the charts, but will it climb to be a classic?
At 3, it's the latest Championship Manager. Last season it sold over 200,000 copies, but this season it's been relegated to 3rd place.
In 2nd place, The Sims have virtually taken over our world. Since its release in February 2000, it's been a constant chart topper.
But in first place, WWT BAM continues its tedious hold on the #1 slot, having sold over 300,000 copies since 2000. And with the launch of the second edition, it looks like Sir Christopher of Tarrant will be on the top for quite a while yet.
When you're born, we copy what we see. And then we go to school, we play Simon Says. Then you get the job, the mortgage, the family, and then you die. Face it, we're all sheep. And back in 1998, we flocked to Parappa the Rapper on the PlayStation.
Come on, Parappa, relax. It's practice time.
An interactive follow the leader combined with bizarre Japanese love story between a hip-hop dog and a flower. Hey, now he's back with Parappa 2.
What's your name, fool? What's my name? What's my name, fool?
By pressing the buttons in the order they're specified, young Parappa raps into the heart of his girlfriend, Sunny Funny. Call me an old cynic, but may I suggest that Sony are teaching gamers to memorize the controller so they'll feel intrinsically part of the X, triangle, circle, square generation. And over 1 million Parappa fans can't be wrong.
Your desire to go back again?
The sensitive, new age Parappa has lost his confidence and is deeply concerned about how his girlfriend, Sunny Funny, sees him. He must musically make his way through the game, learning new love skills from the experts, with only a pre-level practice jukebox and his internal metronome to accompany his tugging heartstrings.
Okay, that's it.
Some of the more peculiar songs feature the Barry White-esque, slightly diluted soul rantings of the mystical, fez-wearing guru ant.
Who's that? Don't know, but he'll probably help us get big.
Later, in an extreme sport round on a boot camp during training for the army to fight the evil people, Parappa and a drill sergeant cow skip over ropes turned by women's breasts. Hey, of course. It's difficult to tell whether the script was originally written in Japanese and then badly translated, or whether the people who conceived of the lyrics were on acid at the time. Yet for a game that repeatedly encourages you to create your own groove, it certainly punishes you for trying. But for the short time that you stay alive per round doing your own thing, you can create whole new sentences by pressing the buttons in a random order.
Do it, do it.
Getting worse! But if you're a convert, and hallelujah, I am, you'll be extremely pleased with the latest release of the franchise. Except once you get through the game, you'll feel empty and unfulfilled and craving more. On the PlayStation 2, Parappa the Rapper is out.
Right now!
No, actually, it's out in January. Virtual reality headsets never really took off. They were too clunky, the graphics weren't particularly great, and they never provided the ultimate gaming experience we were all hoping for. But there have been a new wave of glasses set to change our minds, or change us into Stevie Wonder at least. Iain, what the hell are you doing?
I'm playing Virtual Lemon Squeezer 2. Ooh, nice lemons. Today we're trying out the Olympus iTrek FMD 20p. It costs £299 and is specifically designed to plug straight into your PlayStation 2. It's one of a range of iTreks for Dreamcast, PC, DVD and TV, but do the big goggles enhance gameplay, or is it just an embarrassment? Let's see what the public think of the headsets with a nice game of Splashdown for the PS2.
Quite disorientated in the first instance, but once you start once you start playing around with it, it's quite good.
Sometimes I actually thought I was actually on a boat.
You can just play it anywhere. I think you can you?
Well, in as much as you have to have that PlayStation 2 with you and a wall socket plugged in. So, no. Supposing you're playing this with your mates, do you think you could trust your mates? Because they could be, doing all kinds of stuff around the side of you and just punching you and kicking you and stuff like that. Do you think you could trust them?
Definitely not, no.
Marks out of 10, how many marks would you give those goggles?
Yeah, it's very nice, but the jumping is very hard, but it's completely is very nice.
Okay, so there we go. The uranium mark out of 10 is it's very nice, but jumping is very hard. Thanks very much.
You're welcome, sir.
It's official. Games are bigger business than movies, but Hollywood's a smart machine and clever marketeers are now releasing interactive tie-ins to their big flicks. Most of these in the past have been quite rubbish, but we've got 3 brand new titles that we're offering our workhorse jury to try out. They can only pick one as the best. Which one's it gonna be?
First up, Batman Vengeance. Based on the Emmy Award-winning Warner Brothers animated TV series, the story is scripted especially for the game. The game features 500 unique animations and specially recorded voice talent, and for the first time it's in full 3D.
Batman. How do the graphics compare to the series and the films?
Well, they've gone more for the cartoon series rather than the film. And at times you'd swear you were looking at the cartoon itself. It's so well done. It's
really?
Fantastic. Nice and dark. If you like a mix of Tomb Raider and Soul Reaver, then this one's for you.
Is it an easy game to play?
Thankfully, no. It's a really good challenge. You don't ever get tired of it easily.
What are the best bits?
The training part where you get to know everything that's in your bat belt. Just playing the game itself as well is a lot of fun.
Always good to know what's in your bat belt.
It's got everything the cartoon has. It's got the atmosphere. It's very dark and brooding.
Would you buy this when it came out, wait for it to hit the bargain bins, or just let the shoplifters have it?
Definitely get it when it comes out, because it's going to go fast.
Hang on a minute, lads. I've got a great idea.
How's about dragging the classic 1969 Michael Caine film, The Italian Job, out from 6 feet under and making a cash cow of a cash-in cult PlayStation game? It's chocker with 14 cars, 6 characters, and 5 modes of play, from basic plot development to multiplayer. But did this game for the PlayStation 1 do it for our panel?
Classic film, not so classic game, I'm afraid. Instead of speeding through the streets of Turin, you're kind of jerking slowly through the streets of Turin.
Does Michael Caine make an appearance?
Michael Caine almost makes an appearance.
Right, Mr. Punch, to blow the bloody doors up.
But I think it's probably a vague impression of his voice.
Oh, Charlie, it's the police. Be good for the little kids who've still got their PS1 to make an excellent Christmas present. Bit of a poor man's driver, still though.
Do you think the designers wasted their time?
I think they should at least watched it. I don't think it's a good game. I would leave it alone, leave it on the shelf.
Next up, 2 films rolled into one game, and a sequel at that. It's Alien vs Predator 2. It's the long-awaited sequel to Alien vs Predator, which was arguably the most intense and terrifying game of 1999. The new title combines elements, creatures and settings from the hit movies Aliens and Predator in 3 interlocking, character-driven stories, where aliens, predators and human marines all share one trait: to survive. The landscapes are highly detailed and graphically accurate from the movie Alien, including dark lab corridors. Each story unfolds from the perspective of a young Marine corporal, a newly emerged alien and a predator on the hunt. The objectives are particular to which one of the deadliest characters you're playing.
Now, the game looks really dark, and I find that quite a problem with a lot of games. Does it hinder on this?
Not at all. It adds to the atmosphere. It is terrifying. Very claustrophobic, very like the films. Scary stuff.
Is it any good?
It's excellent. I was so scared. It's really good, very atmospheric. The best bit, the surprises when you first come into them. You're never so scared than when the first alien jumps out at you.
It's a very, very scary game. I mean, I can't stress this enough. I mean, just... The best bit is when you're walking through a dark corridor and you hear noises all around you.
I can see that's why computers and technology have been invented, so you can pretend you're walking down a dark corridor, hearing noises all around you. It's fantastic. Would you go out and buy this game, or would you send it on a rocket ship to another planet?
I would buy this game. It's a good game, but maybe a wee bit too scary for me.
So there we have it. Alien vs Predator 2 seems to be an excellent game, but a little bit too scary for our baby jurors. The Italian Job seems to be a load of rubbish. Don't touch that. And Batman seems to be the winner today. The best game, best graphics, best sound. But we must say, don't go to the computer game shops and start robbing this game from the racks. That's illegal.
I love another. Now it's that part of the show where Alex and I mess with forces and have a look and see what's coming up soon.
Yes, it's sneaky peek time, so you can find out what's coming out next year to get you through those post-Christmas blues. First up, it's the much-anticipated Star Wars game as Obi-Wan hits the Xbox on an all-new adventure for the next-generation video game system. Star Wars Obi-Wan immerses players into the role of Jedi Knight as never before. The power of the Force will truly be in their hands, giving them the acrobatic abilities and lightsaber prowess of the legendary Jedi Knight. But you'll not be seeing all Obi until spring of next year.
Next year also sees the launch of Maximo. No, this doesn't have Russell Crowe's big muscles rippling all over your TV screen. Instead, it's a Japanese coin-op classic, updated by an American developer. Maximo is a 3D platformer blend of combat and jumping, and the developers firmly believe that classic gameplay design never goes out of style. The story revolves around King Maximo, who returns to his realm after a long war, only to discover he's been usurped by evil Achille. Who cares about the stupid plot? There's 30 levels from across 5 worlds, 50 different power-ups, and loads of tasty backdrops.
Old arcade classics like this are the ABBA albums of the computer game world. You don't admit it, but secretly you love them.
And we end tonight with Nintendo showing off yet again with a new watery offering for the GameCube. It's Wave Race Blue Storm.
The aim is to negotiate the slalom-style courses, unlocking levels as you go. It's got fantastic jet ski physics and ultra-realistic water. And there's single-player, four-way multiplayer, and stunt modes to keep you going.
Oh, well, that's the end of the show, and unfortunately there was so much that we couldn't cram in there. For example, I'd made a moving, spiritual Christmas Advent crown. Alex was going to model some swimwear for us, and we had an hilarious classic outtake where the sound guy tripped over a pie and crushed the postman. Brilliant. Oh.
And in the meantime, you can go to our website at www.channel4.com/Thumb Bandits, where we want you to vote for your favorite game of all time, whether it's Asteroids, Lara Croft, or Sonic. You can also buy some games, chat to people, get information, see pictures of Iain naked. It's brilliant, it's wonderful. You should really check it out. It's great.
And if you don't go there and vote, then it's guaranteed that Horace Goes Skiing is going to win. It's up to you.
But stop crying into your late-night crap snacks, because we'll be back next week with a look at Fifth Element spin-off New York Race.
We'll have the muscly-arsed wrestlers from WWF.
And we'll have the latest gadget that every kid in your school, I mean in your office, will want.
That was so much fun.
We're done now.
I'm going to make a quick phone call. Yeah, to be honest, Alex is really getting on my
Jesus Christ,
tits.
did you see him in that?
I'm not being funny, but she is so...
Unreal.
Yeah, my name's Alex. I can't stand up.